This is it. 20 nations, 5 countries, 60 drivers come down to this. Are you ready? Drift Masters are ready. It's time to kick off the final round of the 2018 Drift Masters European Championship. Ladies and gentlemen, to round 6 of the Drift Masters European Championship 2018. What an unbelievable year it's been so far. We've been to Germany, Poland, Latvia, and we finish it right here in Ireland. Let's take a look back at what happened in Germany at the Hockenheim Ring.
You should know that by being a racing driver, you are under risk all the time. And by being a racing driver means you are racing with other people. And if you no longer go for a gap that exists, you're no longer a racing driver. Because we are competing to win. And the main motivation to all of us is to compete for a victory.
Lerner is getting close to him, and Lerner is going to challenge for the lead. Ayrton Senna has got the lead.
But One Motorsport isn't celebrating heritage or history. It's busy creating it. It's been a long road from motorsport outcast to the next big thing. And professional drifting is now ready to state its claim on the Hockenheim Ring.
Welcome back to Germany and welcome to round 5 of the Drift Masters European Championship. After an incredible day yesterday of practice and qualifying, the drivers are heated up for the main event today. In case you missed it, this is what went down.
Qualifying was hot and heavy, with drivers attacking the first corner at over 19 miles an hour. Making the top 32 battles was going to be a tough task.
Absolutely perfect. Look at the transition from Dean as he stands on the accelerator. Big angle and smokes it across the line. Korpolinski, very, very good job from Pavel Korpolinski. Look at the smoke all the way up to the wing mirror as he comes over the line. That is a good run.
Yeah, so we're just getting ready for our top 32 battle, where we're battling Gregor Shipke. He's currently second in points. I'm currently first in points.
I'll be in his door, in his bumper, and his wheels. I will be full all his career.
Doesn't get much tougher than that. So it's a big one for us. It's a big one for him, and yeah, we'll be going into this battle and going all in.
Defeating Grzegorz Hipke would land James Dean the title of 2018 Drift Masters European Champion. But the battle for supremacy was far from over, and Dean prepared for another run to the podium. The German audience held their breath as anticipation began to build for the top 8.
Well, they're off the line, Dave. Let's find out who will be taking it through to the final four. Look at Benedictus Gerber on the back bumper, but ultimately the Colferan makes the dive now onto the door as Gerber starts to force Nigel Colfer across the line. Very, very good lead as Dean now almost makes contact with Overgaard as Overgaard fires it in. Dean, no such separation this time. Dean nice and close to the door as Overgaard starts to smoke out the champ. They both fire it in. And Overgaard on big hand. Look at the way that Zalewski fires that car in absolute confidence, but Mccarthy shakes champion. Oh, and contact with Mccarthy hits the back of Zalewski's car, but managed to push himself a little bit further away from Pavel Mccarthy.
Yeah, big mistake from Mccarthy, went too aggressive there.
As these guys come off the line, it will be Korpolinski to lead in Hutanji, and Hutanji all over the back bumper. Hutanji on the door. Can Hutanji be the man to take down Korpolinski? Almost contact, unbelievable.
Here we go.
Benedictus Churba would defeat local legend Joe Hutunji to claim third step on the podium, leaving just one battle remaining. 2017 champion Adam Zalewski would face off against newly crowned 2018 champion James Dean. They say history is written by the victors, and both competitors knew this battle was all about proving who was best. James Dean was making mistakes in the chase position while Zalewski looked strong out front. This one would all come down to the second run.
Poland versus Ireland, and look at Zalewski all over James Dean as they come into that first corner. What a transition! The 18-year-old is coming for blood here. He doesn't care what Dean has won. He's taken first place today, and what a transition into that final corner. Zalewski in a last-minute transition again. Impressive stuff. Pushes the Irishman across the line.
The judges called for a one more time. Zalewski was ready, but his machine was not, and the youngster would retire heartbroken. Professional drifting took a step on hallowed ground this weekend. Heroes were born, warriors emerged, and a champion was crowned. But this is not a conclusion. This is just a chapter. And Mondello Park in Ireland will close the book on the most incredible season in European drifting. It's time to finish the story.
So now that you're back up to speed, let's have a chat with our top drivers in the championship to see how they're feeling ahead of this round. Forrest Wang, you're our second wildcard entrance to the final round Drift Masters European Championship this weekend. How do you feel bringing your own car to Mondello Park?
Oh, definitely pumped to bring my own car here. Last time, I drove Darren McNamara's car, which it was a fun car to drive, but, being in your own car, definitely feel a bit more comfortable, and the track here is awesome. Such a fun entry over the hill, and then a technical infield. I can't wait to put on a great show with the rest of the European drivers.
How do you find the European drivers? I mean, it's a different crowd for you. We know a lot of European drivers have made the break into FD, but how do you see these guys that are making their way up through the ranks?
I mean, these guys got the influence. I'd say they learned from James, and they're all pushing to be at that level, and I'd say these guys are up there with the best. So I'm really excited to get out there and compete with them tomorrow.
Well, dude, listen, we can't wait to see your style and your flair out there. We wish you all the best, man. Joe Hutunji, you're currently sitting 7th in the championship, in the Drift Masters European Championship. How are you feeling coming to Ireland for the final round?
Excited, super excited, man. Ireland, place to be for drifting, isn't it, in Europe somehow?
Exactly.
So many first times might be happening this weekend. First time for us for sure on this track. Loving it, it's insane. You have to go so committed into that first turn. Mondello, this weekend, coming for you.
Carnage Carney, you're a wild card into the final round of the Drift Masters European Championship. How does it feel, more importantly, to bring your ex-FD car, this amazing Dodge Viper, back home and drive in front of a home crowd here at Mondello Park?
Yeah, this is a car that's been definitely in the talks about coming to Mondello for the last 3 years, and to finally have it here, I tell you what, as soon as I came in over the crest of the hill yesterday for the first time, I was like, woohoo, like this is actually after happening. So yeah, it's absolutely awesome to be obviously here with this car, and just the support for it, like, and everybody's interest in the car is amazing. So hopefully it's going to be a fun day tomorrow, and we can hopefully put on a show with the car and enjoy the day if the weather gods are good to us.
Well, dude, listen, it's an absolute honour to have you here. Good luck, man. And we're going to see you. Gregor Sipke, you're currently second in the Drift Masters European Championship. You got a lot of people hunting you down as we come into the final round. How do you feel?
I feel good, and I stay in second place. My car is prepared. Here it's fast. You have a lovely place for drifting. This track is perfect.
Well, listen, you look good out there. I mean, some of the practice runs we've seen you put in over this weekend have been phenomenal. We wish you all the best of luck. And listen, we know that you're a very good driver, so we know you're going to hold on to that second spot. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Adam Zalewski, you're currently third in the Drift Masters European Championship 2018. To jump into second place, which I know you desperately want to do, you've come from no points at the first round. You're now in third, lucky, but to get to second, you will go through your good friend and fellow countryman, Gregor Sipke. How do you feel?
Yeah, he's my big friend. I want to fight with him on the track. Maybe pass him, but it will be really hard. And yeah, the track is crazy. The first corner is like totally blind, you can't see anything. But then you need to go full throttle on this all the time, and your head says no, don't do this, and everything. But you need to make it somehow. But yeah, everything is okay with the car, and I'm really happy.
Well, listen, we watched you yesterday in practice, and you looked unbelievable. So we wish you all the best of luck. Good luck, and we'll see you soon.
Thank
you. James Dean. You got the championship in the bag, that's done and dusted, that story's finished. This story for this weekend in Mondello Park is all about the Championship Cup. Poland currently leading Ireland in the points, but not only that, there potentially is a 15-year streak undefeated that I know that you don't want to be taken down. How are you feeling coming into the final round, Drift Masters?
It's absolutely awesome to be back in Ireland, first of all. It's been a year since I drove here, and I absolutely love coming back to the Japfest event, meeting all the Irish fans, and the support they give me when I'm competing in Europe and the States is incredible. So I'm here, you know, obviously there's a lot of pressure on. It's the biggest lineup of drivers Ireland has ever seen, so there's a lot at stake, but for me, I'm just really having fun driving the car, trying to go as hard as I can every single time, and yeah, I just want to put on a show, and hopefully we can get the Ireland back onto the top of the Nations Cup, so fingers crossed.
Well, listen, you look on form. We wish you all the best of luck, James Dean. Good luck, man. Take it easy. Well, the atmosphere in the pits is electric. The grandstands are getting busy. I'm pumped. It's time to kick off qualifying here at round 6 of the Drift Masters European Championship 2018.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Mondello Park and welcome to the final of the Drift Masters European Championship. My name is Dave Egan. I'm joined by my good friend Ian Waddington. We're going to be talking you through all the action today, and it is going to be one of those special occasions. What an incredible season for the Champions League of European Drifting. We've watched it all from country to country, battle to battle, story to story, and I feel it's like the drama in this championship is still yet to come on the last day, Ian. This one is stacked.
Yeah, this one is very, very stacked, and what a way to send it off here in a very sunny Mondello Park in Ireland. I mean, the story for the weekend has been unbelievable. The action we're seeing in the pits, the practice alone, the door on door, these guys, there's still a story alive, and there's still yet something to be decided, and that is the Championship Cup.
Yeah, well, of course, we can explain that. The championship decided at the last round. It's an Irishman, James Dean, taking the championship against Red Bull Gt in the top 32 in the Hockenheim ring. But right now, there's something else on the line today, which is the Nations Cup. Right now, there's 22 nations competing in this championship, and Poland lead the charge with Ireland in second place, but there's nothing in it. Very, very few points in it. The top 2 drivers from each country score for their individual country, so that's happening today. So what's different about this championship, Ian, than any other championship that's been before, is the level of drivers. And we've watched it from round to round, how incredible it's been. From country to country, they've dominated every track. We've seen some of the best drifting we've ever seen worldwide. But this weekend, it's even ramped up again. You've got the best of the Drift Masters European Championship, the best of the Irish Drift Championship, the best of the British Drift Championship, and the best of Formula Drift here for 1 day only in Mondello Park. The place is standing room only. All the grandstands are sold out. We were promised a hurricane today, but the gods have said no. This has to happen on dry conditions, and we've got beautiful sunshine in Mondello Park. It is a crazy, crazy event ahead of us. Yesterday, the warm-up, the Irish Drift Championship final, showed the potential of this track, but today we might just get the best drift event of all time. That's a big claim, but one I'm willing to stand by. And right now we're going to tell you how these guys are going to approach this event. If you're new to drifting, this is something just to get you up to speed. So first of all, we go through our qualifying session, Ian, which is sometimes the most nerve-wracking part for the drivers. Only 32 drivers will make it into our head-to-head battles later on, and they've got a lot of criteria to get through in that qualifying session to be able to get into the main show. I'd like to introduce our judges. Of course, it's a judge sport, the only motorsport that is a judge sport. Our head judge, Kieran Hines, he'll be joined by Kevin O'Connell and David Callas. And I'm going to head over to Kevin. Kevin, these guys are going into a qualifying session on a very different track than they've been on all year. Talk us through what's going to get them that perfect 100.
Thank you, Dave. So, starting off from the start line, what we want the drivers to do is to accelerate up as hard as they possibly can. We want the drivers to initiate as early as they possibly can, but initiation is open. We will allow the drivers to use a slight dab at a handbrake, but they are going to score significantly higher if they actually do a feint entry or possibly even a clutch kick entry if they can pull it off. But that is really risk-reward. So starting from the initiation point, we want the drivers to slide the rear of the car through outer zone 1. From there, then on the live stream, you will see 3 dotted lines on the track. We want the drivers to set the car up so that the front right wheel is just on those 3 dotted lines. That will set them up for the perfect line then into inner clip 2. From there, we want the drivers to accelerate hard, full throttle zone, all the way out to the most important outer zone in this entire track, which is outer zone 3. If the drivers don't get that outer zone, they're definitely going to be way down in the qualifying order. From outer zone 3, then we want a nice smooth transition back onto outer zone 4, and only when they have completed that transition may they decelerate then. If we see the drivers slowing down while they haven't transitioned, they're going to be deducted points massively again for that. Then we want the drivers to set the rear of the car up onto outer zone 4, maintaining that nice wide line all the way around Link ECU corner. As soon as outer zone 4 finishes, we want them to come away from the outside of that track into the middle of the track. A nice snappy transition back onto outer zone 5 in front of us here, but we prefer for the drivers to use speed and not a whole pile of angle here if possible. From outer zone 5, another snappy transition and back onto our first wall in front of us here and setting the car up so that the rear of the car slides through outer zone 6. From outer zone 6, we want the drivers to maintain that wide outside line, possibly even sitting that rear wheel on the white line for maximum points, which will set them up for our second wall then, just as outer zone 6 finishes. From outer zone 6, maintaining that nice wide outside line and over the finish line and outer zone 7 at the same time.
Well, there you have it from the judges, and it is going to be one of those tracks that has it all. Essentially, it has the fast entry, downhill, off camber, one of the scariest entries in world drifting. And a lot of the drivers from Europe saying they never quite understood it until they saw it in the flesh. And then they go through this technical section, and of course you finish it off with a couple of concrete wall runs, which makes it oh so exciting to finish off. But of course, it's not just about the judging criteria. There is some rules and regulations also involved in how these guys are going to be scored going into qualifying. We're going to check those out right now. So each driver will complete 2 non-consecutive scored runs. The highest score after both runs will count as a driver's final score. Each run is scored out of a maximum of 100 by our 3 judges. The average score from all 3 judges will count as a driver's run score. Drivers will be deducted points for momentary loss of drift, understeer, incorrect line, dropping 1 wheel off the designated circuit, or significant contact with those outer walls. Drivers will be rewarded for extreme entries, big angle, that's what we want to see, increased speed, fluidity, smooth transitions, correct judging line, precision on the outside of the track, and proximity to those outer clipping zones on those concrete walls. Drivers will score a big fat 0 for complete loss of drift, spinning out, dropping 2 wheels off the circuit, extreme understeer, or driving a section of the course. So essentially, it's a drift championship, not a driving championship, and these guys are pumped up. Ian, to me right now, before we go into checking out what these guys are going to do in real life, I think we got to have a little look at the virtual track, because this is going to give us an idea of what we're expecting on that perfect 100 run.
Well, as you can see, off the start line, Dave, and through our chicane, cars will come down the straight here at Mondello Park, smashing through the gears, and then a nice opposite flick initiation. Like Kevin O'Connell said, initiation is open into inside clip 1. You can see it nice and close to that curve, then nice and wide out to the centre of the circuit, transition back, and then into this full outside zone 3. Cars are going to be expected to be on full throttle all the way through this, and then be looking for that that outside zone 4. Nice transition back, and then a snappy transition onto that concrete wall. Like you said, Dave, a brave move for the drivers into outside zone 5, on the wall again, out to the final outside zone 6 and across the finishing line. And just like that, Dave, 100-point perfect run.
Easy as that.
As easy as that.
Easy. Pretty easy on a computer game, but not as easy in real life, because there's a lot of variables on this track, and it is also temperature changing over the day on the surface. The guys have had to deal with sort of wet and dry conditions all the way from Friday morning. It's been a real uphill battle for a lot of these guys even to get here. And I suppose the story of qualifying for me is that there's so many international drivers here and driving. Essentially, when you consider a lot of them making a trip, basically making the trip from mainland Europe or even Scandinavia. We've got guys as far as Finland, Sweden, all the way from Latvia and everything like that. They've made huge trips, and the weather hasn't been great. A lot of storms hitting the Atlantic and moving in. Ferries delayed, flights delayed, but we are here right now with 22 countries about to go for the win in Ireland. Here's the side story, though. In Ireland, drifting and competitive drifting has existed for 15 years. In 15 years, not one international driver has ever won on Irish soil. And over 150 drivers, including multiple world champions, have attempted it. They've never done it. Today, for the first time ever, the odds are stacked against the Irish drivers, because there is more drivers from international drivers than there is local drivers, meaning that they are going up against it. However, James Dean taking the championship and taking the win in the Irish Drift Championship against some of these guys was a big story yesterday. But there's some wild cards in there, like we saw Dean Carney. We've got Forrest Wang. Those guys have shipped their cars from the USA to be here for this event, Ian. They're not playing around. They're not here to wave at the fans. They're here to win this one.
Yeah, I mean, that's the story for the weekend, really. Not only is it for the champion, for the cup, for the Nations Cup, but a lot of these guys have said there's a 15-year streak on the line, and we know these guys are passionate. And there's one thing I've learned about the Irish, Dave, from coming over, is they don't like to lose on home soil. And listen, walking around the pits, there's a lot of those European guys that want to take it down. Absolutely.
And of course, we're part of the biggest car show in Ireland also today. It is Japfest here in Mondello Park. 700 show cars, Japanese show cars on show today. So plenty to see and do. We're going to catch up with our man on the ground, Eddie Power. He's having a look over the setup, how things are building here in Mondello Park today.
Thanks, guys. I'm down here in the heart of the pits, where the excitement is certainly building and the fans are arriving in their thousands. Drivers putting the final touches to their cars ahead of qualifying. Right behind me to my left, the Red Bull Drift brothers preparing their cars, and they are surrounded by 700 plus show cars here in Mondello Park for the show and shine and the event that is Japfest. The excitement is just crazy down here. We have taken over Mondello Park. You can see cars scattered all over the track. We have run out of space. The roads have been shut down outside. It is crazy. I'm going to go down and take a walk through some of these show cars just to show you what these Irish fans showcase and what they keep hidden in some of their garages, hidden all across the country. I'll be back with you in just a couple of moments' time.
Thanks, Ed. Ed's going to be checking in from behind the scenes all day, giving us that behind the scenes feel. We like that because, we're kind of stuck up here, Ian. We can't see everything that's going on, but he's going to try and find us those stories as the action continues. So you've got a sport that basically originated in Japan. You've got every type of Japanese car here, but the story is going to be about Europe, because this season has been incredible. It started in Poland months ago, what seems like years ago. So much has happened this year, where Poland, then we moved it to Hungary, then we moved it to Riga and Latvia, then it went to Poland again in a stadium, in a full stadium, Ian.
tarmac in a stadium in Turin where 20 cars on the grid ended up with very little wheels left on the car at the end of the event. Then it went to the Hockenheim ring just a couple of weeks ago, 2 weeks ago in Germany, and here we are finishing it on my home soil in Ireland. And the Irish fans said, well, if everybody's making the effort to be here this weekend, we're going to make the effort too. As you said, thousands in attendance, hundreds and thousands of show cars. There is no, right now, people can't even get in the gate right now. The anticipation for what's about to happen, because over the years, the Irish have been very dominant in Europe. James Dean has won 5 European titles. We've had a lot of UK titles, that kind of stuff, and even a Formula Drift title last year. And this is now a proving ground for a lot of future stars. However, we've never had all of the champions from Europe come here for one event. A lot of people saying this morning that this 15-year undefeated streak is going to end today.
No, and I think you're right. I think that has been one of the main reasons. I mean, not only for the championship itself, but one of the main reasons that everybody, you know, fought those winds and these storms that we've been having, and got on the boat and said, "We're coming. We're going to come in our hundreds, and we're going to see if we can't take down these Irish." Because apparently they're undefeated, and apparently James Dean's the man to beat, as he proved yesterday. Yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, he's got a big target on his back all weekend. Of course, he's the current champion, but people don't care. Winning the final round, you leave the season on a high. You're the guy everybody's talking about as the curtain closes this evening. That's going to be playing on the mind of these drivers. And, you know, we thought maybe the Irish guys are going to have a huge advantage here because it's their home track. Well, there was extended practice for Drift Masters drivers, and they also have hit this track running. We watched some of the runs this morning, and I would almost say the internationals are looking stronger than the Irish at this point of the show. Qualifying will tell a lot, Ian. The battles tell even more. You can't win practice or qualifying. But however, I think we're going to have nervous tension, especially on the local audience this weekend. Will this 15-year streak end up? But Eddie Power is down on the ground again. Eddie's down there looking for some unique Japanese metal.
These guys are polishing their cars meticulously, all wanting to be the winner of the show and shine competition today. We have everything from the crazy out there to the bog standard and just pure perfection. It is just insane down here. Surrounding me, cars everywhere. We even have a few idiots around. What more could you ask for? We are almost ready to go for qualifying, but I'm going to try and see if I can get a talk with some of the drivers down in pit lane before they head out. We'll be back to you guys shortly.
So Eddie's, I mean, it's an interesting car park down there. Everything down there is just polished up. Everyone's ready for the show. They're parking up their cars. They're coming to watch the Drift Masters European Championship final. There's a nervous tension in the air, Ian, and I haven't felt this before. We've had a lot of big events in Ireland over the years, but to me, nothing has ever felt like this. I mean, there's a nervousness. You can't see this on camera, but there's my hairs on my hand are standing on end. I mean, just to know that this quality is in one place in a small country in Western Europe, and it's all about the finale. This is what, you know, you leave the exclamation mark for the championship. It has been solid throughout the entire whole championship. Amazing runs, great battles, crazy fans from country to country. But in the finals, something always just amps up a little bit.
I think it's definitely stepped up a level. I think you're right. I mean, the anticipation from everybody around the world when it was announced that this is going to be one of the biggest events that has ever held here in Mondello Park. I know a lot of people have travelled a long way. I mean, like you say, Scandinavia, Norway, all across Europe, all across the UK, just to come to this event. And like you say, I think we're going to see history this weekend. Like we say, championship done and dusted, but forget about that. There is a whole other story happening right now in the pits, and I think it's going to be a special weekend, Dave.
Well, one of these guys is going to make themselves a hero today in front of a record attendance here in Ireland at a drift event, and it looks like we are almost ready to go live to the start line for the start of qualifying. And there it is, our first driver on the line, and it will be the top 8 finishers in the Irish Drift Championship, gaining a Drift Masters license overnight and now jumping into the big leagues in Europe. And it will start with Joe Doyle. And Joe Doyle has been one of the stars of the show for the Irish Drift Championship this year. This R33 Skyline has all the goodies. And Joe, right now, going out there to try and make a name for himself on a European stage. Ian, first to hit the track, pressure on.
First up, Joe Doyle, like you say, David, he fires it in that Quinn's M Sport R33 Nissan Skyline. Joe Doyle, very, very high-level competitor here in Ireland. And as you can see, nice line through the outside zone. Good transition back, gets into outside zone 5. Oh, an over-road takes, Dave. Very uncharacteristic move there from Joe Doyle as he finishes his run abruptly.
Joe Doyle, very uncharacteristic. As you mentioned, Ian, maybe the pressure of jumping from the Irish to European level causing him some issues there. 0 on the board, has it all to do on his second run. We move back to the line. It will be his teammate, Kevin Quinn, nicknamed this weekend Baby Shark. He will be on the start line in this incredible 600 horsepower 2JZ Toyota powered Quinn M Sport 180SX. This has a G-Force dog box, Winters quick change, Wisefab, all the goodies, and this thing rips on this circuit. Kevin always finishing in the business end of the championship in Ireland, but right now his first ever run in the European Championship. Let's see how he can handle the Drift Masters pressure.
Well, so good so far for Kevin Quinn as he makes a masterclass out of zone, absolutely smoking it out. Nice transition back into out of zone 4. Good transition back into out of zone 6. This is where it all went wrong for Joe Doyle, but Kevin Quinn makes it look oh so simple as he hits out of zone 7, takes it across the finish line, and a very, very confident run there from the Quinn's coach. Driver.
Phenomenal run from Kevin Quinn and showing that he's not under any pressure. This will be the most competitive grid he's ever driven into, and right now maybe a track he's familiar with, but the rest of the drivers he is not. The scores are going to come in thick and fast, and a 63 for Kevin Quinn puts him, I would imagine, with a mid-pack score at the fight. He's going to have to improve from there. Next up on the line is a man that has in 2 years gone from a complete unknown now into the European Championship qualification. Imagine a story, a fairy tale story from Mark McBurney in one of the lowest powered cars on the grid, if not the lowest powered car, 400 horsepower, but it's not going to dampen his spirits today as he fires into that first corner with incredible aggression.
Very, very aggressive there for Mark McBurney, and a regular here at Mondello Park. He knows his circuit like the back of his hand as he absolutely fulfills that out of zone. Another guy making very easy work at this complicated circuit. Drops out of that out of zone though. That's going to sacrifice some big points as McBurney takes it over the line to put a score on the board.
Mark McBurney put in a very solid run there. The man from Northern Ireland of the Drift Shed NI 180SX. Just 400 horsepower, but he's one of those guys that is able to pull it out against some of the bigger names in the sport. Score, though, missing some of those outer zones, maybe down the order a small bit, but 72 on the board for Mark McBurney. We now move on to a driver that wowed us yesterday, even taking flight 3 wheels into the air against Peter Vjajcek in the Irish Drift Championship. He is one of the stars of the championship, one of the very few drivers on the grid to have won multiple national rounds. And Paul McCarthy in this turbo-powered M3 BMW fires into the first corner of Mondello, but just a little shy of clipping zone 3.
Like I say, Dave, just shy of that clipping zone 3. Gets into that out of zone 4, though. Good transition back on 5. Now, can he fulfill all this out of zone? A lot of drivers struggling to make the grade here at Paul McCarthy. Sometimes stated the underdog does a very, very nice job there on his first qualifying run of the day.
Paul McCarthy claiming this car built by him from the ground up has been a lot of blood, sweat, and he says mostly tears because the car has had some reliability issues in the past, but putting a solid score in there, a 71.3 for Paul McCarthy, leaves him in second position for the moment, but we are early in the order, and there is a lot of big names left to come. Next on the line, the man finishing third in the Irish Drift Championship this year, and he is the man known for his online drifting capabilities. It is Alan Hines in the Pro Drift Academy S14, beating his ex-Formula Drift driver cousin Darren McNamara yesterday, and his sponsor. So he has now switched up a level for the European Championship today at Drift Masters. He said it's a dream come true to be even out here with this level of competition. Doing a good job so far.
Very nice job from Alan Hines, completely fulfilling all of those out of zones. Gets on the wall nicely. Does drop wheels over the line though, so judges are going to be knocking points off of his score. Nevertheless, puts in a very, very nice run. And like you mentioned, Dave, noted for his online gaming. So no doubt Alan Hines has probably done a million runs around here in Mondello Park, but in the virtual world.
He's virtually the best driver we have on the grid. That's all I can say. But is he going to be, in reality, the best driver on the grid? Well, there's a long way to go before now in the final, but a good solid start to today for Alan Hines, a 61.7. I think he's going to have to improve on that on the second run.
And next up, it is the Thunder from Down Under, the man that makes 5 trips a year from Australia to compete here in Ireland, has made it through on his 2nd place finish in the championship in Ireland to a chance here now at the Drift Masters European Championship. V8 supercharged under the bonnet all the way from Australia. Mitch Lerner fires in, and he's coming for a blood hearing.
He's coming in very, very hot indeed, Dave. Almost backwards into that first corner. Messes up getting into that outer zone, though, and almost over-rotates. Cleans it up, though, as Lerner fires it into outer zone 6. Smokes up those Estino tyres, fulfills outer zone 7 and takes it across the line. Little scrappy, fast initiation, but I think there's more to be seen there from Mitch Lerner.
He had a very, very solid 3rd place finish yesterday. He's been on the podium at every round of the Irish Drift Championship this year, but he wants to put Australia on the top step of the podium today. As mentioned, he may need to improve on certain zones there to guarantee him a high finishing place in qualifying. Let's see what the judges went with. 79.7. Yeah, we're expecting to see him up in the 80s and 90s. So a little bit of nerves creeping in, I think, at the start of qualifying for these guys. And nerves, well, one man that doesn't seem to suffer from them at all is the man that won 8 events in Ireland and the UK this year and is the current, as of yesterday, Irish Drift Champion. Dwayne McKeever takes his first spin into the Drift Masters European Championship. And this man last night said he is not going to be beaten today. He said this is his day, that the whole world knows that he is that damn good. Well, we're about to find out if Dwayne's got what it takes.
Very, very nice run so far from Dwayne McKeever. As mentioned, the newly crowned Irish Drift Champion puts on an absolute masterclass. And look at the angle he pulls as he fulfills out of zone 7. Dwayne McKeever proving there to the world why he is #1 in Ireland and almost in the UK.
A lot of speculation this year of how good Dwayne McKeever is, and today he said he's going to answer all of those questions. Big claims, but a man with so many wins under his belt this season, you couldn't argue with that. And he's looking at this Drift Masters European Championship as his new home next year. So a nice little taster for him this weekend. And look at that, straight into first position with an 87 for Dwayne McKeever. Phenomenal first pass of the circuit, taking all the pressure off. Next on the line, Oliver Evans, coming over from the UK, representing VP Racing Fuels, finished 2nd on the podium at the British Drift Championship last weekend. Not as much fortune yesterday in the Irish Drift Championship, but this is a new day and a new Oliver Evans coming in hot.
Very nice to see Oliver Evans here on the Grid at Drift Masters European Championship, and very steady line so far as he fulfills the outer zones. This looks like a technical run from Oliver Evans. Not too outlandish, not putting too much on the line, but fulfilling all of the outer zones, exactly what the judges want to see, and a very, very nice line as he gets into outer zone, very clinical. This is a very, very tidy run from Oliver Evans, a very high point scoring run in my opinion.
Oliver Evans relishing the opportunity to compete here at the Drift Masters European Championship, and said another driver, you know, I wouldn't say he's arrogant, but I'd say he's very confident. And he said that everybody this weekend better watch out, because Oliver Evans is one of those guys that does not hold back. We saw it there in qualifying just on the first run. I think he's going to get a great score from the judges. An 85.3 for Oliver Evans puts him into 2nd position. This may be the highest qualifying scores we've ever witnessed in European drifting today, because that's the talent that's out there. And another man you may not be familiar with is representing Lithuania's Armas Vaskelis, an international driver coming over from the British Drift Championship, where he now resides in the UK. This V8 turbo BMW. A little bit offline on entry there for Armas, but this guy knows how to put a smoke show on in.
Certainly does, Dave, as he pilots his V8 turbo BMW E30 and absolutely starts putting some clouds in the sky for us. Very nice run so far. Like Dave, you mentioned, just offline ever so slightly on initiation, but gets it together and puts down the rest of a nice run.
Not a bad run from Armas
from
as well.
the front of the car, though, Dave. Not a good sign.
I may even be so bold as to guess that they may be coming from inside the car, because that's how much smoke had collected on that run. Armas not able to actually see the front windscreen of the car for the amount of smoke that got trapped in that BMW E30. Incredible stuff, but a little bit of work to do as he scores a 74. Next up on the line, this is the big star this weekend, Forrest Wang, originally from Hawaii, now residing in Las Vegas, shipping his Get Nuts Vaptasia Achilles Radial S14 all the way from the USA for this event. and he is now going into qualifying as one of the most stylish and favoured drivers on the grid. Let's look at this big, huge entry from Forrest Wang.
Incredible driving from Forrest Wang, and just look at the style that this guy possesses. And oh wow, Forrest Wang way off circuit as Forrest Wang aborts the run after dropping 3 wheels, potentially 4 off circuit. Looks to the judges, gives them a little nod. He knows where he went wrong, and all to play for on a second run, I'm guessing there, Dave.
Yeah, currently ranking 13th in the US Championship, a big star across the globe, but he'll have to get all the job done on a second run. A 0 on the board for Forrest Wang, a long way to ship a car and to travel, to be under that kind of pressure with just 1 run to get it done. Next, another man no stranger to the Formula Drift Championship. He competed there professionally for 8 years. Is Darren T-Mac McNamara in the Group D PS13. This car, the height of engineering, 715 horsepower, and just weighs 1,035 kilos.
Well, if Darren McNamara's driving doesn't catch your attention, I'm sure the livery will. Darren McNamara very deep into the outer zone 3, and he aborts the run. And Darren McNamara aborts the run after getting wild on outer zone 3. A few of these guys feeling the tension. Pressure, Dave, on the start line.
Well, you know what? You might wonder why they're shutting down, and this is an interesting thing. The minute these guys, especially Formula Drift drivers, the guys at the highest level, make a mistake, they actually shut down because they know it's not enough to score a high enough score to qualify. And we move straight into another Formula Drift driver. Can you believe this machine is here in Mondello Park? 1,000 horsepower Dodge Viper, piloted by Dean Carney, representing Oracle Lighting, Achilles Radial. He is here in his own car for the first time ever, and he's been competing for over 10 years in Ireland. First time ever in his Formula Drift car. Let's see how he gets on.
Dean Carney looking very confident in practice and feeling very, very confident and excited to be here, putting on a show for his home crowd, doing a very good job so far. Not as deep into the outer zone 3 as what the judges like to see. Balancing the car absolutely perfect on the outer zone 4. Now puts it into outer zone 6. Very nice line, keeps it off the wall. You can just see him using the foot brake there to slow the car down into outer zone 7 and across the finishing line. And Dean Carney will put a score on the board. He'd be happy to be home and doing that in that car.
I mean, how incredible does this car look? This is a bona fide supercar transformed into a drift car, throwing it in sideways at over 70 miles an hour. Incredible stuff. Just one of the most amazing and the only drift Dodge Viper in the world. And it's right here in Mondello Park this weekend. Let's see how Dean Carney scores with our judges. Another Formula Drift driver taking to the circuit this weekend. We got everybody here this weekend. This is one of the most stacked grids in European drift history. And an 80 on the board for Dean Carney puts him into 3rd position. Next up, representing France, it is Jerome Garcia, representing the Drift Academy. He is the owner and organizer of the French Drift Championship, but also a very accomplished driver in his own right. And he's here in his PS13s, powered by an Orbi 25 to take to the circuit. A little down on powering, but a very technical driver.
Oh, and just as you say that, Dave, he just drops the wheel into outer zone 3, and Jerome Garcia now way offline. Like you say, one of the underdogs in the championship, but a guy that's got a serious credential of driving history, as Jerome Garcia looks to put some points on the table. Oh, and a spin before the finish line?
I think it was just
after.
Was it just over? Yeah, the finish line is that just line just after that last clipping zone, and I think he made it past that. As long as your your front wheels past that line before your rear wheels, you're okay. So I think he might have got away with that one. I could be corrected by the judges, but not the perfect run from Jerome Garcia. France representing here this weekend. Could they take it down? Well, Jerome may have work to do. A 60 on the board for Jerome Garcia, puts him into 10th position so far. Work to do for another international driver. We move it along. Representing Denmark, it is Kim Mathiasen in this incredible BMW LS1 powered 500 horsepower and 670 Newton meters of torque. Started drifting in 2012. He's competed in Gatbil in Norway, and he's been a couple of podiums across Europe, but right now trying to find form here in the Drift Masters European Championship.
Well, mistake there from Mathiasen, yeah, put himself offline. Unfortunately, not getting into that outer zone 3. So easy to drop a wheel there. You're carrying a lot of speed on initiation, as David mentioned before. Mathiasen, though, fulfills outer zone 6 and 7. And I think he's just getting a feel for the track after maybe a little bit of break before practice.
Kim Mathiasen, amazing looking car, LS1 V8 powered, but all that power and torque only results in a 55 in qualifying on the first half of qualifying for Kim Mathiasen from Denmark. Next on the line, it is Axel Mack driving an IS 600 twin turbo. And this is an LQ4 twin turbo, a V8 Lexus engine with 2 turbos strapped on. Incredible machine, 700 horsepower. He is representing Germany this weekend, Ian, and the Germans are coming in strong. Nice run so far. Oh, a little mistake.
Just seems like a lot of our European drivers, Dave, struggling to make that transition from clipping point 2 to 3. It's a very, very awkward part of the circuit. Our drivers saying that so much skill needed to fire the car in at 80, 90 miles per hour and then slow the car down enough to get to outer zone 3. It's a very technical section of the circuit. Axel Mack, though, doing what he could do and finished off the run with some points, but not enough, in my opinion, to get himself a place in top 32.
Of course, important to remember that they get 2 passes of the circuit, so you can, rewrite history when you come back out for the second one. Just get rid of that first one, throw it in the bin, press the recycle button on the computer and put a brand new file in there. Get yourself into the top 32. At 56 for Axel Mack from Germany, sits him in 11th position so far. Next on the line will be his teammate, René Poitz from Germany, also driving an IS200. This one with a 1.5 JZ Toyota engine, 750 horsepower, field suspension, G-force dog box, Winter's quick change rear differential. Another driver looking to attack that first corner and keep it smooth through the first 3 zones.
Well, René Poitz doing a good job so far. Oh, and just as I say that, he finds himself deep in the gravel in the outer zone 4. And René Poitz not really having the season that he would have wished for, Dave. Struggling a little bit to adjust to the level of driving here at Drift Masters European Championship.
Important to note, Ian, a lot of these German guys saying that it's very difficult for them to get seat time out of competition because in Germany there is no real, practice days or training days. So they've literally got to learn these cars and build them and learn them right in the moment here in competition. Very difficult. Next up, Kasper Christensen from Denmark. 28-year-old, 4 years in drifting. He has 4th ranked driver in Denmark right now. Finished 9th in the Nürburgring Cup last year. 2 JZ under the bonnet, 720 horsepower. Got it faced a lot of mechanical gremlins this year, trying to get back on form.
Very outlandish initiation, but unfortunately for Kasper Christensen, fired himself too close to the inside of that curve. He does manage to work his way out of the gravel, though, which is very good of him. Initiation, just a little bit too scrappy, found himself way off of clipping point 2, shy on 3, which meant he was carrying a little bit too much speed into outer zone 4, hence why he ended up firing that car off into the gravel. But Kasper Christensen, like you said, Dave, we'll get another shot of this.
A 0 on the board, as confirmed by our judges for Kasper Christensen taking a trip into the gravel trap, and a lot of pressure on his shoulders for the second half. And you talk about shoulders, and you talk about a man that's been through the wars this year, a weight on his shoulders. It is, of course, next up, Jim Olofsson from Sweden. This man rolling the car twice onto its roof in Riga earlier this year, then hitting the wall in Poland, losing half of the car, and it's still here in the same car. Talk about bravery. Jim Olofsson is one of those drivers that never backs down.
He certainly doesn't. He never gives up, and he said he's going to bring the fight all the way to the end. And here he is in Mondello Park, putting on a show right now, using a foot brake there to balance that car. Very nice job from Jim Olofsson as he gets it into the outer zone, nice and close to the wall, fulfills all of outer zone 6, just dropping off towards the end. Gets it back online, though, through outer zone 7. And for a guy that's been on his roof and ripped half the car apart, Dave, I'd say that's a very successful qualifying run.
Jim Olofsson representing Payback Fuel, was also representing Simpson Race Products, and he needed every bit of them this year. He's had a rough year. Jim, of course, finishing 3rd this year in the Swedish Drift Championship. 750 horsepower BMW turbo engine under the bonnet of this E30. A lot of E30s in the Drift Masters European Championship. Really good chassis for high-end competitive drifting, especially when you make those engine swaps, Ian. Incredible stuff.
It seems like the choice car, and you know what, these guys often swap out to a V8, but like we say, Jim, keeping with the BMW engine, very deep in that zone. You can see him just lifting the front wheel ever so slightly. Judges trying to see, Dave, whether he dropped 1 or 2 wheels. It was very, very close. He was very deep into the outer zone, so just wanted to confirm before they put a score on the board.
You got to be sure, right? You got to, if you're going to, you know, give these guys some criteria. You can, and the great thing we have is technology that we can have a look at a couple of different angles and say, hey, we're not too sure. Let's go back and have a look at it again, make the right call, and the judges will input their scores and see how Jim Olofsson done in his first run. 58.3 puts him into 11th position so far. Our next driver on the line, he's also a Swedish driver. It is Christian Erlandsson. And this man has a 2JZ under the bonnet of this GT86 running 932 horsepower. As if the two mattered at that stage, you're talking Veyron power and power to weight of any supercar out there in the world. And he drives this thing incredibly. Amazing run out in Germany just 2 weeks ago, but a little shy of some of those zones so far.
As you mentioned, Dave, very incredible run there in Germany that he had in qualifying, but unfortunately not having the same turn of fate here in Mondello Park. Shy on some of those outer zones. Christian Erlandsson will be looking to tidy that up. It's going to hurt his score, in my opinion, not being as deep, and that outer zone 4 very, very shallow. So work to be done there for Christian Erlandsson.
If there was style points in drifting for how your car looked, he would get 487 from me.
And he's such a nice guy.
What a nice guy. 61.3, and a little bit of work to do for Christian Erlandsson on the second half of qualifying. Beautiful car, but he needs a little bit more of a good-looking score on the second half of qualifying. Next up on the line, representing the UK, it's Stephen Baggsy Biagioni, former British drift champion. He's European Super Final champion. This running an LSX-R V8 600 horsepower Chevrolet engine. Sounds incredible. Has had some gremlins this season, representing Monster Energy, ST Suspension, Acorn Insurance, and Westlake Tire. A little bit of a wobble there, Ian, but still on it.
Steve Baggsy Biagioni looking for a turn of fate this round for the final round of the Drift Masters Championship. Had a very scrappy season, as you mentioned, Dave. Does get very, very wild on the transition and very deep into outer zone 4. Manages to hold it on circuit. Puts him on a strange line as he comes into outer zone 5. Does a good job of holding it together. Baggsy, though, good to see the car working, good to see him on track.
As you mentioned, you know, finishing a car right in the middle of the season almost at a very difficult time with that much pressure on and the level of competition in this championship to get everything right, and they've had some gremlins with it. When the package works, it's incredible, and of course once they iron those out, he's going to be a real threat to the rest of the grid. But today it looks like everything is a-okay, but a 0 for Stephen Baggsy Biagioni on the first run for dropping 2 wheels off the track. 4 wheels off the track, in fact.
At clip 4, sorry, Dave.
At clipping zone 4, 4 wheels off the track. So there you go. You said he got a little bit wild there at clip 4. Cost him. Next up, it is the current British Drift champion, Matt Carter, from representing Team Jaffe Maxxis Tires. He came second on the podium yesterday in the Irish Drift Championship. On the podium last weekend in the British Drift Championship. Can he get himself on his first European podium here at the Drift Masters European Championship?
Wow, what an initiation from Matt Carter, and what a way to finish off the final round of the Drift Masters European Championship. But stepping on the podium the day before, and Matt Carter really putting on the smoke show with those Maxxis tyres as he fires it into outer zone 6, nice and deep, all the way to the very, very outer limits as Matt Carter puts foot to pedal and pushes at jab speed R32 across the finish line. Very good run from Matt Carter.
Matt Carter, a 2-time UK champion, your current UK champion. And a phenomenal run against James Dean in the final of the Irish Drift Championship yesterday. He is a confident driver right now, looking like he is in the zone and ready to put big scores on the board. Let's see what the judges think. An 84.3 for Matt Carter puts him into 3rd position. Very strong start for the UK driver. And he looked good all weekend. This could be a big weekend for Matt Carter. Next up, a man looking for another turn of fortune is the German Max Heidrich. Max Heidrich He's been driving since 2012. He's done some phenomenal podiums in his career, but looking for a little bit of better fortune than he had in Germany. 700 horsepower, 2JZ, representing parts 33.
Max Heidrich's doing a very nice job on that transition into outer zone 4, and a very nice line. Oh, what a good snappy transition back into outer zone 6, exactly what the judge is looking for. Stands on the accelerator, and you can hear that Toyota JZ engine under the bonnet screaming as he finishes off an absolutely blinding run for the German driver.
Max Heidrich has struggled a little bit this year on some tracks. He's had some big impacts with the wall, but right now on this Mondello circuit, he is looking super confident. Could it be a German driver to take it all today? A very likely score for Max Heidrich, 74. A little bit of improvement needed, but a very solid starting point. I think he's going to come in a lot hotter on the second one. Next on the line, representing the Czech Republic, is Michael Reichardt. Started drifting in 2013, runs an M3 E92 with 900 horsepower. That is where drifting is at right now in Europe, and this thing is just insane.
Insane it is indeed, and Michael Reichardt was putting in some absolutely unbelievable practice runs. Can he bring that into practice for qualifying? He certainly can't. He drops outside zone 3. Nice transition into 4 as he stands on the pedal, very shallow into outside zone 5. Gets into 6, nice and tidy, takes it to the wall. And one last push before the line. Michael Reichardt needs to tidy that one up. That could have been a high score.
We know Michael Reichardt has the potential to top qualifying. He's put in some phenomenal runs throughout the season, but on that occasion has room to improve, I would imagine. And the judges, of course, sticking to that criteria they've explained in driver briefing, and a 68.7 for Michael Reichardt from the Czech Republic. Next on the line, representing Holland, it is Sebastian Fontin, the 2015 Dutch champion, the 2016 Nürburgring Drift Cup champion, the 2017 Nürburgring Drift Cup champion, and one of the highest ranked, if not the highest ranked driver ever to come from Holland. He now takes to the track into 650 horsepower, 2JZ E36, looking good so far.
Wow, what a run already, but just as we say that, Dave, he drops wheels on outer zone 5, and I was going to mention that this guy, Sebastian Fontaine, no stranger to this Mondello circuit, and the run just seems to be falling apart. The initiation was absolutely magic, but unfortunately there for Sebastian Fontaine, loses a lot of points in those outer zones. I'm sure the judges are going to absolutely crucify that score.
I'm wondering, did he drop 2 wheels over that outer zone on Link ECU corner? That's what I'm wondering, because that is going to be a real harsh place to lose battles and runs today. Of course, here in the Drift Masters European Championship, 2 wheels off. And it does look like he is over that zone.
And again, sorry, Dave, to interrupt, but here again, I do believe on that transition, he dropped wheels again onto the dirt, so...
You got to be more precise than that. That's the real level we're at here. Yeah, a 0 on the board for Sebastian Fontaine. 2 wheels onto that concrete means that it is a 0. And that is going to be a real game changer this weekend, because when you go over that zone, it's very, very difficult to keep the car on track. So that, of course, is the rule book here at the Drift Masters European Championship. Slightly different than the regular rules here at the Irish Drift Championship. So Dawid Karkoszek now from Poland takes off the line. This man has had some mechanical issues and some big hits this year, but he has finished 4th in the Drift Masters European Championship last year, looking for a podium this year, which has evaded him. 800 horsepower or B under the bonnet.
Looking strong right now is Dawid Karkoszek as he fires that car in. Very nice job on the outer zone. Just falls out of the outer zone towards the end of the run, but unbelievable run, and absolutely smoked out that outer zone 4. Very, very good run, and a very confident driver going in towards top 32 battles. This guy comes alive when we get him inside the top 32.
Karkoszek, and this car, it looks nice from where you're sitting or watching now, but this car has been in pieces most of the season. He's hit about 4 or 5 walls, had about 4 or 5 rear ends on that car. And 83 for Dawid Karkoszek from Poland. And remember that Nations Cup, oh so important today between Ireland and Poland. They are the only 2 countries that can mathematically win it at the moment. Poland leading, Ireland are coming, chasing the pack. Onto the line we go, representing Latvia, it's Jānis Iglīte, LS1 twin turbo V8, 800 horsepower, 4-time Latvian champion, 2-time Baltic champion, and second place in the European Championship and the outright Eastern European champion. Let's see how he goes here. Oh, big mistake.
Wow, I was just going to mention that Mccarthy put down a serious initiation there. I know this guy was very keen to get himself on the simulator and do some runs in the evening of this Mondello circuit. It just looked like he was struggling a little bit with what a few of our guys have been struggling with all weekend, and that's grip through that first corner. Mccarthy having a little bit of understeer there, and unfortunately, he's going to have dropped quite a lot of points there for that initiation as he finishes off his run and takes it back to the pits.
Representing Tri-Ace tyres, and Yanis will have a little bit of room to improve from a 56.3, landing him in 17th position for the moment, and Latvia with a little bit of work to come from behind here in the second half of qualifying. Moving on to another German driver, it is Eli Hutunji, one of the Red Bull Drift brothers. He finished second in the King of Europe Championship last year. It's an LSX 454, 650 horsepower V8 under the bonnet. These guys have been on it from the start this year, Ian, chasing down those championship positions.
Well, these guys was looking awesome in practice, and look at the initiation from Eli Hutunji as he fires in that LSX-powered BMW E30 Red Bull, but can't get all the way to the outer zone. That's going to hurt his score as he makes the transition back now into 5. Can he get nice and close to the wall? He certainly can. Starts to fulfill all of that outer zone 6 as Eli Hutunji puts foot to floor, fulfills the outer zone 7 and finishes it up. There's more in Eli Hutunji. We've seen a better run from him before.
Looked to me like a cautious approach to that lap, and we've seen so many drivers dropping 2 wheels over on link engine management corner. He probably took a more cautious approach, but it does get him an 80.3, so a little bit of room to improve, and now he can risk it knowing he's got that score on the board. So that's a smart move from the German driver. Next up, another Irish driver. It's Nigel Colfer, competing for over 12 years in Ireland and Europe. He has over 50 podiums. Put that tricolour on top of the podium 50 times. 2JZ, 740 horsepower, representing ST Suspension, Acorn Insurance, Sonax, and a nice entry. Nigel Colfer knows his way around this track, Ian, that is for sure.
Oh, he certainly does, Dave, but he does drop wheels on outer zone 3, and I spoke to Nigel Colfer and he said, it's been an amazing year in Drift Masters European Championship, but there's nothing quite like coming home and driving on your own home circuit as Colfer sticks his Acorn Insurance card to the wall, puts foot to floor and takes it across the line. That mistake, though, on outer zone 3 is going to cost him massively.
I think the judges will again be questioning whether he put 2 wheels off on link ECU corner. Watch this, watch the rear wheels. Does he go over that zone? Just about, looks like he does go over that zone. That would be a 0 for Nigel Colfer with 2 wheels over that outer zone. That's going to play a big part in what happens today, and I can see it already. 0 on the board, Colfer does not score. That's very harsh out there, and it's a very difficult part of the track when you're trying to decelerate from over 70, 80 miles an hour down to half that almost just when you get to that transition. Next up, the man that was on the podium in Germany just 2 weeks ago, representing Lithuania, is Benediktas Čirba, E46. And this is an incredible run of form towards the end of the season for Benediktas Čirba. He's been a great inspiration to a lot of the guys out in Lithuania that you can hang at this level of competition. He's been improving every round. Expect big things here.
As you mentioned, Dave, Benediktas Čirba has been stepping it up and nevertheless stands on it again. Oh, completely drops that inner zone 1 as Benediktas Čirba now gets his head back on his shoulders and starts to pedal this amazing E46 BMW. Nice tidy line, nice snappy transition, puts the back of the car on the wall, but it's upset his line. He's going to over-rotate. Oh, he completely messes up the rest of the run. Benediktas Čirba is going to have a very, very low score, if not a 0. He now has a lot to play for.
Finished 10th in the Drift Masters European Championship last year, top 3 in Lithuania. Well, right now he is way outside the top 10 in qualifying with a lot of work to do. And a 38 on the board, so big improvement needed for the Lithuanian driver. Čirba is going to have work to do. Straight from the podium in Germany, now he's back against the wall. Move along to our next driver is Jack Shanahan, the current, I was going to say current Irish Drift champion. Well, I've said that all year. He got knocked off that spot yesterday by Dwayne McKeever, but he is a 2-time UK champion, 1-time Irish champion representing Tri-Ace Tires Link Engine Management. looking for a turn of pace in the European Championship this year. Massive entry from Jack Shanahan, huge angle.
Wow, what an initiation from Jack Shanahan as he now pilots his Link engine management trace tyres, S14 around outer zone 4. Good transition back. Look at the snappy transition from Shanahan as he sticks it into outer zone 6. This is going to be way up the order. Can this contend with Mccarthy in top spot? I certainly think so, Dave, as Shanahan takes it across the line. Unbelievable run.
Well, the Irish are going to have to hold their own here all weekend, and a lot of the fans will be looking to Jack Shanahan to fly the flag. Great run from him there, of course, a man who's made many victories on this circuit, but looking for, as I mentioned earlier, a turn of fortune in the European Championship. So let's see if he can go higher than Dwayne McKeever in qualifying. It is a big run from him. An 84 for Jack Shanahan puts him into 4th position. And Jack Shanahan, nice first run, pressure off. Now we can have some fun with the second run. Our next driver on the line is Christoph Romanovski from Poland. You might have checked out the social media during the week of the crash, the really bad crash their truck driver had getting these cars here. But they are here and they are competing. He is one of the highest ranking drivers in Poland, 600 horsepower LSX E30. Hit the podium in Riga this year in Latvia. Looking to get back on it this weekend.
Christoph Romanovski is definitely going to be looking to get back on that Riga form. Nice run so far. Gets the car in or out of zone 6. Oh, but falls way offline. It's going to hurt his score. Romanovski gets it back. But the rest of the run looked tidy, and that's going to hurt his score. Romanovski maybe just feeling the pressure a little bit of this absolute stacked grid for the final round of the championship. Christoph Romanovski takes it back to the back of the grid. He will obviously get a second run in the bag. And will he need it? What does he score on his first run? A 77 puts Romanovski in 9th position. Not bad so far, but definitely a place to improve.
Romanovski with work to do. Next up on the line, we call him the Norwegian sledgehammer because he's hit so many walls this year across all over Europe. It is Tor Arne Kvia. Hit this incredible LS3 600 horsepower 180 SX. He is from Norway, making a huge trip all the way down here. Just 21 years of age. One of the most exciting drivers on the grid, in my opinion. Looking forward to seeing how he tackles this Mondello circuit.
Well, Kvia definitely feeling confident. He said the car's working 100% now. He's had boost issues all year. And look at this as Kvia absolutely nails it. You can now hear that supercharger really whining. As Kvia completely fulfills themselves, gets nice and personal with the wall, pops the boot lid up. This is tidy from Kvia. A very, very good run from the Norwegian sledgehammer.
I'm going to make a big statement. I think that's gone top. I think that's top qualifier so far. You can see him flying the Norwegian flag proudly from the rear end of the car. Kvia started 2014 drifting, not a long time on the scene. And here he is just 4 years later and now competing with the best in Europe. Let's see how he scores. Can Tor Arne Kvia go top of qualifying, make a big statement here at the start of it? There you have it, an 89.7 for Tor Arne Kvia from Norway, puts him into 1st position. We weren't joking when we said that this 15-year undefeated streak was under pressure, because these guys are coming for it. Another man who's no stranger to Mondello Park in the last couple of years, but has been one of the highest ranked drivers in Europe, is Juha Poitelaxo. Poitelaxo takes off the line this BMW M4 fronted E92. 900 horsepower. Current Finnish champion and European Drift GP champion last year. Comes in with all the credentials, all the talent, and all the machinery in, looking strong.
Very strong so far from Poitelaxo. Oh, but he goes wide. Goes very wide onto the beginning of that outer zone 6. That could have cost him the run. This guy was having some seriously, seriously good practice runs earlier, sticking it to the door of none other than the Formula Drift and current Drift Masters European champion. Poitelaxo there, though. Looks like he could have ruined the run in one foul swoop.
This car, there you have 72 on the board for Juha Poitelaxo from Finland. I mean, coming from Finland is very far away. I'm not even sure how long that is, but I'm sure it is a lot longer than I've ever been in a car. And those guys are traveling a long way. A little bit of fatigue maybe setting in. Next up, what an incredible car this is. An Opel Gt, or I think it's called a Pontiac Solstice in the US. This is a GM car. It's running a 2JZ. Very unusual chassis, 860 horsepower. My first event ever running an event. 5 years ago, he was the star of the show. Can he be the star of the show again this weekend?
Paweł Trela comes off the line. He stood on the podium alongside some of the greats in Turin in Poland. Can he hold it together? He certainly can't as he throws the car off circuit. And Paweł Trela, another driver, potentially scoring a 0 there. I'm just speculating. I'm going to say 4 wheels off circuit, Dave, isn't what we're looking for at Drift Championship.
Can you imagine having such a small, light car and putting 990 Newton meters of torque in it on a short little wheelbase like that? To me, that's always looks like it. He drives it so precise, not on that occasion, that was uncharacteristic, but so precise generally, hitting the podium in Poland and Turin. But he's under pressure as well. A lot of big names on zeros halfway through qualifying, Ian. It's going to be very nervous in the second half. Back to the line we go, though. Second of our Red Bull Drift brothers, it is Joe Hutunji, the older brother of Eli, representing Red Bull Falcon tires, LSX 454, 700 horsepower. This car, a 180SX pickup truck with a Mitsubishi Galant front end. Try and figure it out? Well, Joe Hutunji makes it look all so easy and also awesome right now. Big lock of the front brake through the first corner. Looking good, Ian.
Looking very, very tidy as he, like you mentioned, Dave, using the front brake to lock that car up, gets nice and deep into outer zone 4. Very nice line. Comes off of it a little bit too early, but puts himself in a good place on outer zone 5. Gets himself set up perfectly for the wall ride and powers that V8 LSX under the bonnet across the line. And Joe Hutunji there, the former King of Europe champion, very experienced driver, very, very cool, calm, collected, and he said, you know what, I'm coming for it this weekend.
Very hard to argue with his confidence after the performances he's been putting in all season. Let's see if the score in the first half of qualifying reflects his confidence and form. An 87.7 for Joe Hutunji from Germany puts him into second position. Wow, big scores coming in now, Ian. We have a fight on our hands today. And this man, topped qualifying in Germany, has come from nowhere, in my opinion, to be one of the most dominant forces in European drifting this year. Paweł Korpelinski in this BMW 1M 2JZ powered 815 horsepower. Says he's not drifting a whole amount of time. Very humble guy. What an entry that was from Paweł Korpelinski.
This guy top qualifying, as you mentioned. Oh, but he's deep into outer zone 4. Could that be 2 wheels over? The judges are going to want to see a replay of that, I'm guessing. That was very deep as Korpelinski puts car to wall. And this guy was relatively unheard of before the beginning of the season, but this year everybody's name, everybody has got this man's name in their mouth. Paweł Korpelinski putting on a real good show, and that initiation was absolutely unbelievable.
Does he drop 2 wheels off the track? I think he keeps it in. I think he just about maybe keeps it in. It's right on the line, but the judges may not look at it that way. Very close, and it's inches and millimeters down there on that outer zone. And it's one of the sections of the track that has caused so many issues in the past for many battles here. It is just, you've got to decelerate the car at such a rate from your full throttle, 4th gear. You've got to transition and then slow down and change down a gear. A lot happening in a very short amount of time. Now, when these guys go head-to-head later on, it gets even more complicated as there's 2 cars doing it at the same time. But it is going to be a score for Paweł Korpelinski. Gets a 78.7, punished for the wheel drop on the outer zone, but not zeroing out there, so puts him into 11th position. To the line we go with Conor Shanahan, 15 years of age now, so he's getting on a bit. Conor Shanahan representing Link Engine Management and Westlake Tires, knocking an undefeated Dwayne McKeever off his run yesterday in the top 8. McKeever said he's coming back for him today, but Conor Shanahan also took down current Formula Drift and European champion James Dean at round 1 of the European Championship. So expect big things from him right throughout the competition. Loves it here at Mondello. Nice snappy transition so far.
unbelievable run from Conor Shanahan as he finishes it off in spectacular style across the line, and he keeps it going. He's hyped inside the car. You could see him on the start line, you know, rocking the thumbs. He was absolutely stoked. That was a very good run there. I won't be surprised if that goes top of qualifying and or contends with Mccarthy for the top spot at least.
Conor Shanahan has been just a standout star, not just in Ireland, but across the globe this year. Everyone's watching this kid saying, you know, will the pressure get to him? Will he fold under it? It doesn't seem like it there. I think that's a big score from Conor Shanahan, and it should put him right in the mix. 90.3 for Conor Shanahan sends him top of qualifying, and the Irish make a statement once again against the international drivers. Unbelievable. But if there's one man out there that could top that immediately, it's our next driver. He is the 2017 Drift Masters European champion. He's just 18 years of age. It is Adam Zalewski in the Zestino Tires E32JZ. Can run this thing up to 800 horsepower. If you've never watched this guy drive, he is one incredible pilot behind the wheel. What an entry from Zalewski.
Unbelievable, but he did catch a little bit of understeer there. Gets it back on form though and fulfills out of zone 4. Very nice tidy job there, and Zalewski stands on the accelerator, pushes it to the wall. Nice job there from Zalewski as he gets that wheel all the way to the edge of the outer zone, to the wall again, as Zalewski tries to look to outdo Shanahan. But you know what, I think the understeer through inner zone 1 will be just too much to top that score.
He's been tipped as one of the brightest talents from European drifting in the last 10 years, just 18 years of age, still learning, still growing, just like Conor Shanahan. What are these guys going to be capable of in a couple of years? Almost scary to imagine if they're already trying to throw it in there. He did a 90-degree entry there. It actually cost him. He got a 75.7 on the board, Adam Zalewski from Poland, but he's been on the podium enough this year to be worrying every Irish driver on the grid. And next on the line, well, he's one of my favorite drivers on the grid, and I always say this could be the craziest man behind the wheel of any car. It's Paweł Borkowski from Poland, 26 years of age. He has beaten James Dean in the past, just to put that out there. And he is in a 700 horsepower 2JZ car, not unlike James Dean's S14, and thrown in very hot and heavy into that first corner. Bit of understeer though. And
Korpolinski catching a little bit of understeer, exactly as Zalewski did there, and almost forcing him 4 wheels off track out of zone 3. Holds it together though as Borkowski, looks to finish off the run and try and put something on the board. But nevertheless, and Borkowski not having the best of season, but finds himself now, Dave, sitting in 3rd place in the championship in the final round.
I mean, I think you've summed it up there. He hasn't had a good season, and he's 3rd position in a championship of 22 nations and 20 national champions. So if you're not having a good season and you're in 3rd position, imagine what he's capable of when everything works his way. He's had a couple of mechanical failures this year, but I think he would have been right there challenging at the top unless, and he's putting a lot of wheels over those lines, Ian. Judges will be watching it. He's had plenty of podiums across Europe, but I think he's going to have to come from the back here. Paweł Borkowski in the 2nd run of qualifying to get himself into the battles. A 61.3 puts him into 23rd position. Work to do. And on the line, the man that almost took James Dean to the final round in the championship, but was outdone in Germany. 2nd in the championship, and hoping it'll stay that way. Grzegorz Hipki from Poland. One of the fastest cars on the grid, 600 horsepower, LSX 4.4, Chevy V8, and coming in really fast into that first corner. He has looked amazing all season, and again, just a little wheel drop there, but so fluid on this circuit.
Just a little wheel drop, as you mentioned there, Dave, but keeps it going and stands back into it again. As Grzegorz Hipki puts his car to the wall. Absolutely perfect line there as he comes through the outer zone 6. Very nice initiation as well. The run just missed that a little bit more from Grzegorz Hipki, and that could have been a top spot contender. He's looking to hold on to 2nd place in the championship. Well, he's going to need to do a little bit more than that.
Gregor Schipke, I mean, I just love the filters sticking out the bonnet on this car. Crazy. Waving to the fans as he heads back into the pits. Of course, this is just the first half of qualifying. Each one of these drivers will get a second run before we call it done for qualifying and find out who our top 32 are. Gregor Schipke, 79 on the board, 12th position in qualification so far. A lot of zeros on the board. I think that's going to be very interesting to see how that stacks up on the second half of qualifying. But on the line now is the undisputed, I would imagine, best in the world right now. The current Formula Drift champion, the current European champion, Guinness Book of World Records holder, more trophies than I've had hot meals. And James Dean, the machine, throws it into the first corner, representing Worthhouse Falcon Tyre, trying to put the Irish on top in qualifying.
Well, it looks like business as usual for James Dean as he puts down an absolutely perfect first half to his run. Can he finish it off in spectacular style? He certainly can as he puts the big Country Lab spoiler over the wall and sticks the back of that Worthhouse car on the wall again. Unbelievable from James Dean. Just looks like this guy can't be stopped.
James Dean is the man with the target on his back this weekend, currently leading the Formula Drift USA Championship. He's already won this European Championship, the Drift Masters Championship. And can he win here and finish the season on a high on home soil and defend Irish pride? Well, he started the way he means to continue. Will we see another Irish driver at the first half of qualifying go into that top 5? It was a good enough run, I think, to maybe definitely trouble the top 5, but where will he slot in? James Dean goes into first position with a 90.7. 90.7 for James Dean, putting Ireland on the top after the first half of qualifying. He was just 0.4 ahead of Conor Shanahan, 2 Irish in 1 and 2, but it's only halfway through qualifying. And just to get the feeling of what the vibes are like in that pit area, our man on the ground, Eddie Power, is down with some of the drivers.
Well, that's it. The first runs of qualifying are in the books, which means it's only one more opportunity for these guys as it's the final round. And the pressure really mounting. And one man who's under severe pressure right now, Mikey Fitz. I'm going to see if I can get a quick word of him. Mikey, you're jumping into a borrowed car. Can you tell us what's happening to your own car?
Yeah, just tough weekend so far. Wasn't really on it yesterday, and it just seemed to have clutch issues, I think, this morning. Was doing practice, everything was good, and was, you know, just did a lap finding the line again, and just felt the vibration, then couldn't get gears. So we ripped it in the pits there very quickly, but we just didn't have time. It was just midway through practice, you know. Looks to be a clutch issue. It's in there with 3 years, hasn't come out. So, you know, it's just, I guess that's the way it is. So jumping into my teammate Peden's old car, which Dale Campaign was driving yesterday. So never driven it, haven't a clue about it. It's SR20, it's, you know, it's 400 horsepower. I believe it's laggy, but I'm going to give it a go.
And I don't mean to be smart, Mike, but obviously Peden being 6 foot tall and you not too far, not anywhere near that like myself. Extra padding I see being put into this. This is just going to be so difficult for you to get out here and put in a big performance.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's the top championship in Europe and the best guys in Europe, and you're jumping into a borrowed car that you've never before driven. I can't really reach the pedals, but I'm going to give it my best shot. Look, I always jump into different cars from the Drift Games experience here and things. I can adapt really quickly, but we've obviously not even had a lap. So look, I'm going to give it my best shot. It's been disappointing that way, but look, we're going to do our best and see what happens, yeah?
Best of luck with it, Mike. So there you see it. It's not all plain sailing for these guys down here, and Mikey Fitz, I mean, this car, it's going to be, will he be able to pull it out of the bag? Who knows? A man who looks very focused after a really strong performance yesterday. We saw one of the craziest battles we have ever seen. 60 miles an hour coming down that straight. You hit Peter Vincek's rear wheel with your front wheel, but you kept it going, and you're back out today and gluing it to people's doors in practice this morning. How are you feeling after your first run of qualifying, Paul?
First run of qualifying didn't go to plan exactly, but I know what I have to do. I've done enough laps here now between yesterday and through the years, so we'll try, and the main thing is just to try and get in for the show. I'm not too worried about qualifying high, but I just want to get into the show because the battles is when an event is won or lost, so that's the plan.
You've had a chance now to mix it up in practice with some of the European guys. Obviously, you would have watched them throughout the season. How do you rate them in comparison to what you normally see on the Irish field?
Oh, without a doubt, unbelievable drivers. To be able to, like, Mondello is not an easy track, as everyone knows, and for these lads just to come straight in and be on it like that is just unbelievable, and it's going to take a lot to beat these lads, definitely.
Well, we wish you the best of luck, Paul, and we'll leave you get focused for it. Again, Paul Mccarthy, one of the best in the business. He has won on this track in the past. He'll be feeling optimistic coming into it. Alan Hines, nice and focused, ready to go. Mitch Lerner sits ready to go. He's ready to mix it up. Lerner, you're back from Australia. Really strong performance yesterday. Another podium, but now your attention's on the European Championship. What have you got to prove against these guys?
Oh, you know, yesterday we had a fantastic result again. 5 podiums over the whole season. So every round we're on the podium. So we're going to try to carry it through into today and yeah, push harder than ever. We got no stress about Warren and getting to the next round. So you know, if anyone gets in our way, we're just going to push through them and see how we go.
So there you have it, Mitch Lerner ready to go as well. The 2018 Irish Drift champion, Dwayne McKeever, he's ready to go. Another day for him, pressure off. Oliver Evans back on the grid. Didn't work out too well for him yesterday, but set to go. Another shot at the cherry again today. Now, sitting on the grid in his own car, second time in Ireland, it is Forrest Wang, Formula D driver. Forrest, strong performance yesterday. Another shot at it today. Could this be the day that you take the top step on the podium on Irish soil?
I mean, I hope so, but it's a lot of competition out there. You know, we got James Dean, you know, Dwayne McKeever, some of the best around. So, like, it's going to be tough, but, you know, I'm going to come out and give it my best shot and, you know, have fun.
So you've had the chance now to practice and compete against the Irish guys. You've practiced against the European guys this morning. Is there a similar level of competition, or do you find today you have to step things up a little bit?
I'd say it's a pretty similar level. The top Irish guys are definitely up there. The Irish guys, you know, they're fast, and the European guys, they're fast as well. So, you know, we're coming, have fun, and see if we can give them some good competition.
Well, we've been really enjoying your style once again here, and the Irish fans can't wait to see you back out on circuit. We're just about to head back up to the tower. The second runs of qualifying are just about ready to go. These guys are pumped up and ready for action. They're ready for war as well. Who's going to make it into the top 32? Well, we're about to find out. Back to you in the tower, Dave.
Well, thanks, Eddie. Eddie down there having a little quick chat with all of our drivers. They all look very relaxed, Ian, for the level of occasion this is. But there was a lot of drivers that he didn't get to in that, and I'm not sure will be so relaxed. Sitting on zeros from the first run, big names in European drifting, just some wheel drops over on the link engine management corner, causing big problems. That's going to play here, because if you double zero at this stage of the competition, especially for some guys that have done this track before, it's going to be a big downer to end your season on.
I mean, listen. Forrest Wang sitting on a zero. He's got it all to play for on his second qualifying run. Like you say, he looks relaxed though, Dave, and I think the way to keep your nerves is to keep relaxed and focus on the job in hand. Man, he's got the job in hand at the moment and all to play for, Joe Doyle.
Absolutely, Joe Doyle trying to work his way from a zero up into that top 32. Has to get it done here in the next 40 seconds or he is going home today. Let's see if the Quinn M Sport car can make a better pass of the circuit here.
Well, Joe Doyle seems to be doing a much better job at this time as he fires that Quinn M Sport R33 Skyline in to outer zone 4. Very, very close there to dropping wheels. Joe Doyle seems to be feeling the pressure in this European grid. Stands on the accelerator at a very shallow angle though through outer zone 6. Gets the job done. Is it enough to find himself in top 32? Well, that's only down to the judges to decide.
Joe Doyle, much better second pass of the circuit there, much more of his style that we're accustomed to seeing here in Ireland, but is it enough to get him into the top 32? It is. 72.3, jumps into 19th position. Not safe, but safe for now. Back to the line we go. Kevin Quinn, his teammate in the Quinn's M Sport 180SX. He's had a great first run out there, but could improve from a 63. Let's see how he goes on the second. He will be coming in a lot hotter and a lot harder. Look at the entry from Kevin Quinn, but he's washing wide.
Unbelievable initiation, as you mentioned, Dave, but yeah, washes wide on that inner zone 1, gets nice and deep into that outer zone 4. As Kevin Quinn stands on the accelerator now, looks for a good transition. Slows the car down dramatically on the handbrake on the transition. Not as snappy as what the judges would have liked to have seen. You can hear him really working the accelerator, smashing the rev limiter as Quinn finishes off a very, very good second run.
That car just sounds so evil on track. I love it. Every pop and bang, I don't know if it's working great or it's broken or what's happening, but it's making smoke, it's going fast, and it's doing some incredible stuff on track. Love his driving style. And Kevin Quinn, you know, he's hinting at a run at the European Championship next year. So 70.3 on the board for him. Getting a taster of what the competition is all about puts him in the 23rd position. Now, as you mentioned, Mike Fitzgerald jumping into the X. Pete Nielsen 180SX has never done a lap in this car and says he can't even reach the pedals correctly. This is a last gasp effort here, Ian. All or nothing, one run to get it done.
Just goes to show that the pressure these guys are under, they'll do anything, and that is throw themselves inside a car they've never driven. But look at this from Mikey Fitz. Mike Fitz usually driving a Mazda RX-7, as you mentioned, Dave, before, and look at this, absolutely laying it down. Oh, and a little mischief there from Mikey Fitz. Can he hold it together? As he does everything he can to try and fulfill all of the out of zone 6. Finishes off the run. I'm not sure, that's going to be a very close call for top 32.
It looked to me like he had a gear change issue as he came out of Link Engine Management corner, well, maybe going from 3rd to 2nd. Looked like Hanish a great attempt either way in a car he's never driven before. And that car having 2 guest drivers this weekend, Dale Campaign and Mike Fitzgerald. So sort of the rental this weekend, you know. And they're often the fastest car around the track, Ian. So let's see what our judges call. I mean, there was a big error in the center section. Was it enough to straight line it into a 0? Was it enough to damage the score? It was a hesitation. Judges will be watching that, and they're judging it, you know, with the level that's here, Ian, judging it pretty harsh this weekend, because you have such a high level. You've got to be so harsh, or everybody's going to end up in the 90s. So they're knocking guys down for the smallest of errors.
Like I say, at this level, you can't be, you know, putting in mistakes, putting wheels off track. They expect these guys to put in a flawless run, a 100-point run every single turn of the track. And I don't know, yeah, like you say, the mischief from Mikey Fitz there is going to definitely hurt his score. Is it enough to get himself a place in top 32? I'd like to hope so. Mikey Fitz is a very good guy. And listen, to see him jump in that car and do what he just done off the first run ever, very, very, very good stuff for him. What do the judges make of it, though?
Yeah, it's a 0 for Mike Fitz. Big straight line in the middle of the course, not scoring. A 0 on the board for Mike Fitz, but he gave it a hell of a go. If he just tidied up, I think he would have made top 32. But he will watch for the rest of the day as Mark McBurney lines up. Known for his backwards entries, crazy angle. Well, he's got to get the job done here today. He sits on a 72 from his first run, looking to improve. And look at the angle already. Wow.
Well, they call him backwards McBurney, and look at that, certainly pulling it all off. An absolutely perfect line. Oh, but he over-rotates as he tries to put it all on the line and try to carry too much speed into outer zone 4. McBurney, he's done a good job on his first qualifying run. Is a 72 enough to see him through to top 32? I'd like to think so. But McBurney throwing it all on the line for to wow the judges.
You know what? We've watched him in many competitions throw in the perfect run on this circuit. When he gets it right, he gets it very right. And that looked to me that it was a wasted opportunity. 72 is where he stays, 20th position. Moving on to our next driver is Paul McCarthy, having a D-beat on his tyre, knocking him out of competition in the last round of the Irish Drift Championship yesterday. 71.3, stayed in the top 8 of the championship, getting his chance today. And as you can see, Paul McCarthy ready to attack the circuit. He's been in the game for a long time to say budget build. Every single component on this car built by himself. Nothing aftermarket, except for the only person that's put hands on this car other than Paul is the tuner. Incredible. And he's done that for 5 years straight and stayed never outside the top 10 of the championship. An incredible dedication to the sport, but also showing that you can do it on a budget. And he sort of flies that flag for the guy who still thinks the underdog could win. And you know what? There's only 3 more drivers in Irish history that have won more rounds than Paul McCarthy. That is a fact. Incredible stuff as he comes off the line. Paul McCarthy, the throwdown on his second run.
Well, can he continue his turn of fortune as he fires his car through that turn 1, like you say, a nice transition now. Can he get fully into that outer zone? He certainly can. Stands on the accelerator now as Paul McCarthy puts foot to floor, fires his car to the wall, doesn't get all the way to the wall, almost drops wheels there, but falls off of outer zone 6 very early. He's going to be shy on outer zone 7 as well. That doesn't look like the Paul McCarthy that we're accustomed to seeing.
Absolutely not. But you know what? It happens at this level. I mean, I think you've got a very tricky track out there, very, very difficult to be perfect all the way around. And Paul, he actually went a little bit too deep, and then of course if you back out a little bit, you lose that perfect arc. Remember, those outer zones are essentially painted on a perfect circle, so once you get on there, you can just ride that perfect circle around. But look at that, an 85 for Paul McCarthy, puts him into 7th position in qualifying with the best of Europe. And imagine what could have been if he didn't drop a wheel over. Wow, an incredible run from Paul McCarthy. Alan Hines now on the line, 3rd place in the Irish Drift Championship, as we mentioned. 2JZ, 480 horsepower, representing the Pro Drift Academy at Vitor Tires. Throw it into that first corner. Very technical driver. Ian loves this layout.
This is a very, very good run. A very technical line so far from Alan Hines as he fulfills all of outer zone 4. Big clutch kick with the JZ under the bonnet of this Nissan at 200XS14. Gets it to the wall almost, takes the spoiler off, but very close to dropping wheels. Oh, and hangs the spoiler over the wall once again as he fulfills out zone 7. And Alan Hines puts down one of the most technical runs I've seen yet in qualifying.
Alan Hines, 61.7 on his first. That to me was almost inch perfect. That's going to be way up there, Ian. That was just inch perfect the whole way around. I don't see much wrong with it. I'm not a judge. And sometimes, Ian, we definitely shouldn't be with the assumptions we make, but also we know the criteria, and that looked very, very good to me. I'm looking forward to seeing this score. Alan Hines awaits his score from the judges. Will he jump into the top 32? An 88.3 for Alan Hines. Puts him into 4th position. An incredible run from the youngster. First year in pro class, first time in the Drift Masters European Championship, and he is right there. On the line next up, Mitch Lerner, the Australian, scoring a 79.7, uncharacteristic of him on the first run. Needs a big run here to prove a point and fly the Australian flag high in qualifying. Big weight transfer entry in this V8 supercharged PS13.
Well, he's coming in hot, that's for sure. Absolutely nails the line into outer zone 3 and very deep into outer zone 4. Slowed the car down. Very good job on a transition again. Mitch Lerner, you can hear him revving the car as he clutch kicks transitions into outer zone 6. Mitch Lerner, much better run than his first. He said he's coming for it. Is that enough to get himself high up enough in the order to have himself an easier run in top 32? Well, the judges are the only people that can make that conclusion for him.
A couple of people in the crowd, you know, making those hour or 2 hour trips to be here. He is 15,000 kilometers from his home right now. And the 20-year-old in the 800 horsepower V8 waiting for his score from the judges. He has been a star this side of the water for the entire of this and last season. But this is his first shot, and will we see Mitch Lerner join the Drift Masters European Championship next year? Anything's possible, Ian. We're hearing rumors. It would be a fantastic addition, and he'd like to now showcase what he's all about. But a couple of wheels over those outer zones might hurt his score. An 82.7 for Mitch Lerner puts him into 12th position, safe for battle action in the top 32. Well, not bad on your second run. On the line next, it is the 2018 Irish Drift Champion. Just got knocked out of the top 5 in qualifying into 6th. He won't be happy with that. Dwayne McKeever, 8 wins from 9 events this year in competition. And look at that speed from Dwayne McKeever to the first corner.
Oh, he's definitely coming in hot. He's just seen what Mitch Lerner, his good friend, has put down, and he said, you know what, buddy, I can top that as he gets into outer zone 3. Looks for a good transition back. Nice line as Dwayne McKeever smokes out Mondello. And McKeever back on the accelerator again. You can hear that RB under the bonnet absolutely singing. Dwayne McKeever putting on a smoke show in the final round Drift Masters European Championship.
The Northern Ireland Smoke Machine, 2-time Irish champion. And the man on form at the moment in Ireland and the UK. He is definitely coming to join the party next year. A 79.3 on that run. Dwayne McKeever dropping wheels, leaves himself where he is in 6th position. And we will be seeing him line up with the best of Europe next year in the Drift Masters European Championship. But he'd like to make a big statement here today. Oliver Evans on the line of the VP Racing Fuels S14. Running 500 horsepower, 2JZ under the bonnet. A lot more horsepower this year for Oliver Evans. I think he's running up near 600 now. And a big weight transfer entry from the UK driver.
Oliver Evans with a point to prove. Misfortune yesterday, looking to get some redemption as he fires that VP Racing Fuel S14, as you mentioned, into the outer zone. Absolutely phenomenal stuff from Oliver Evans right now. Flicks it to the wall and a good line as he gets into outer zone 6. This is going to be a very high score for Evans, already sitting on an 85.3. Can he go top? Unbelievable stuff from the young man from Wales.
Yeah, Welsh represented another country to add to the mix. I didn't even really think about that. 23 countries on the grid if you count the Welshman Oliver Evans. 23 countries at one event in Europe. This stuff was just an imaginative dream years ago, and here we are watching it, including guys from the US and Australia. 82.7 on his second run for Oliver Evans. He will have to be happy, and he will be, with his first run leaving him in 7th position. Just biting at the heels of Dwayne McKeever in 6th position there. On the line, Aramis Vaskelis. He's Lithuanian, but lives in London right now, 26 years of age, E30 V8, turbocharged, 760 horsepower. And if you don't believe that, it has a Scania truck turbo bolted onto his BMW V8. And look just what sort of smoke clouds it creates.
He's definitely going to bring in some smoke, and some smoke from the front tyre as well. As Vaskelis balances that car on the foot brake. This guy really coming to his own this weekend and feels at home with his European drivers. Vaskelis on an absolutely perfect line. This is phenomenal. Big flame pops from the bonnet from that Scania turbo, as Dave mentioned. Now stands on the accelerator as Vaskelis puts in an incredible second qualifying run. Vaskelis leaving nothing out there to chance.
Well, I'm just going to be very curious to see what way it stacks up in the top 32 between international drivers and Irish drivers, what the odds are going to be there as we head towards top 32. Remember, we finished qualifying and we almost go straight into top 32 battles. Had 80 on the board for Aramis Vaskelis from Lithuania, 14th position in qualifying. And the big runs are starting to come now, Ian. What we expected. Well, this could be one of the biggest runs of the weekend. Forrest Wang sits on a 0 from his first run. The Hawaiian origin and now living in Las Vegas. He has to get it done here. He is outside the top 32 with a 0. One run to get it done for Forrest Wang after bringing this car all the way from the United States to be here. Currently sitting 13th position in the Formula Drift Championship and looking much stronger so far.
Looks like he's holding back ever so slightly, but you won't want to blame him right now. He wants to get inside top 32 and he wants to battle with the best from Europe. And he's doing a good job now as he finishes off the run. You can see him stand on the foot brake, balancing that car absolutely perfectly. For me, that's enough for Forrest Wang to get himself in top 32. And I want to see that guy bring that style into top 32 and mix it up with the European drivers.
That is a calculated run, guaranteed in. He went out there knowing that any mistake at all and he would be out of the competition, so we didn't see the full 100% attack from Forrest Wang, but I would imagine enough technically to get him well into that top 32. So we will see him in battle action later on, as far as I can tell right now. Let's see where he did drop in. 86.3 for Forrest Wang, puts him into 7th position. We will see him in action later on today in the top 32. And next on the line, another man that's very familiar with the US and everything that goes on there. He's also on the wrong side of the car in a left-hand drive PS13, but also on a 0. Ian, it's Darren McNamara.
All to play for as he comes screaming down. Nice straight line initiation from McNamara. Another guy who's going to be looking technical. Oh, but a big error from McNamara as he goes onto the grass and shuts the run down. Is there problems with that car? This is so uncharacteristic. He looked like he was on form all day in practice. And that will, I mean, we need to make it official, but another 0 for Darren McNamara. We'll see him outside of competition today.
Yeah, I mean, imagine the weekend, you know, mistakes today, but really losing to your cousin yesterday, I mean, that's going to be harsh for Darren McNamara. Losing to his younger cousin, I mean, and his, outside the top 32 is Darren McNamara with double 0s. And now lining up is the incredible 1,000 brake horsepower Dodge Viper, the only drift Dodge Viper in the world, piloted by a man from Waterford, Dean Carnage Carney. This is his 2017 Formula Drift USA car, shipped here to Ireland for the final and the biggest European drift event ever. Well, we need a big car for a big occasion, but can he get a big score? Carney on his first run scoring an 80, looking pretty safe with that, but he can now take a little bit more risk here.
He's going to risk it all for the home crowd, Dave, as he fires in that supercharged Dodge Viper. Absolutely clinical initiation there. Perfect. Oh, but he's deep. He's too deep. He goes into the gravel as Dean Carnage Carney throws it all away and gets himself beached on the edge of the circuit.
Yeah, Dean Carnage, he just dropped off, and it's, you know, so many drivers have just scrubbed the lip of that gravel trap that it is quite a bit of a lip down to it. And it is almost like a wall, Ian. It almost can just can get the car sucked in and to get it stuck pretty quick. Comes in on big angle, big aggression, going for that big score, but just loses that rear end a little bit. And look, as minute it drops, both front wheels come off the ground and no steering whatsoever. Turns him into a spin, and it's 0 on the board.
Such a shame. It looked like a promising run, and it looked like Dean was, you know, going for a wild run. Score comes in though, Dave.
Yeah, it's going to stay where he is in 16th position. Lucky he had that first run in the bank. So we wait for the recovery of Dean Carnage Carney.
Yeah, you can just
You know
see.
what? It's actually an opportune moment to admire this car while it's being recovered.
Exactly what I was
because
just
it is one
gonna
of
say.
the coolest drift cars. When you sit in this car, and I've sat in this car in
you've
Urbandale,
had that privilege?
in Urbandale, California. I wasn't allowed to turn it on, but I was allowed to sit in the car. And it's almost like looking out of a post box. There's literally the smallest windscreen, and it is really, really tight in there. The bonnet is 10 times the length of the car everywhere else, and it's very hard to know where the front and rear end is. I would imagine it's one of the most difficult chassis in world drifting to drive, and how he's stuck with that chassis for a couple of years. I get it, it's super cool, but you'd obviously say that there is an uphill challenge of driving something so unique. Of course, this car running a V10.
Yeah, a V10, but not only that, Dave, not only a V10, a supercharged V10, because why not? Horsepower is unlimited in any drift championship around the world, and Dean Carnage took full advantage of that. Yeah, such an honour. I mean, I'm not going to lie, I turned up here on Thursday, I walked through the pits, and there was an array of Formula D cars, and I turned into a younger self and just stood there.
You fanboyed hard.
Fanboyed so hard.
Yeah, you fanboyed.
I mean, listen, who couldn't, when you're standing there looking at this iconic car, like you mentioned earlier, not only is it a supercar, Dave, it's a supercar that is now turned into a drift car, and
I would imagine there isn't even a model of this type of car in this country anyway. Never mind a drift car. I would imagine there is not a that late model Dodge Viper.
So you're trying to say to me that the only Dodge Viper in Ireland right now is being thrown around Mondello Park at speeds over 100 miles an hour, sideways.
On the handbrake, yeah.
Well, there's the fact for the weekend from Dave Egan.
Yep. The only Dodge Viper in Ireland right now is somewhere in a gravel trap in Mondello, and now going into top 32 battles. That is the reality of where this sport has gone in just a very short time. Next up on the line is Jerome Garcia from France. Not the perfect first run from him. 60 on the board. Will need to improve that score. Let's see how he goes on his second run. Of course, very nice guy. Said he's bringing a bit of bam boom this weekend. Bit of French flair to the championship. And firing into that first corner. A lot more aggressive this time, but he may lose it here.
Well, you took the words straight out of my mouth, Dave. I was just going to say if Jerome Garcia was going to be bringing that French flair, and he's such a nice guy, very, very cool, calm, collected, always got a smile on his face when you see him in the paddock, but unfortunately, huge mistake on his initiation. Judges throw their arms up in the air, and Garcia just giving some hand signals to the judges. He knows where he went wrong. Can he hang with the big guys with a 60 in qualifying? It's going to be a nervous wait, or is he outside that top 32 drop-off zone?
Well, we have got 3 Irish, 1 Norwegian, and 1 German in the top 5 so far. Bit of a mixed bag there, but I suppose if you look at Dean and Shanahan there at the top, a business as usual for those guys. They will have a second run, almost a free roll of the dice to see. It'll be more personal than anything else, I think, towards the end of qualifying.
Bragging rights.
Absolutely, bragging rights. So a 0 on the board for Jerome Garcia from France. 60 from his first run just leaves him just inside the top 32 for now. But we have a lot of zeros on that grid, which means that it might drop down the order. Kim Mathiasen next on the line. Danish driver, LS1 E46 BMW 500 horsepower. This car is an old World Touring Car Championship car, would you believe? And also competed in the Danish Touring Car Championship. And then Kim said, you know what, going straight around these corners is completely boring. Let's make it into a drift car, and it's an awesome machine. But just dropping off the track on 3 wheels almost as well, Ian.
Well, you know, Kim Mathiasen's initiation was very, very good. It looked promising. A very, very slow transition into the outer zone. Stood on the accelerator, and I think it was the slowing that caused the problem. He got too deep into outer zone 4. Yeah, as you mentioned, hitting that freewheel motion. We're not in Long Beach now in California, and those low riders. This is a drifting competition, unfortunately. I can only imagine that would be a 0.
If you drop off the track there, I mean, firstly, you're getting a 0 anyway, so it's you know, you can kind of give up on the run, but if you drop into that gravel trap, it's so deep that it actually just lifts the front wheels off the ground. You have no steering whatsoever, so it puts you into that spin. So a 0 on the board, leaving Kim Mathiasen outside of our top 32. Unfortunately for him, after a huge journey from Denmark, he will be spectating the rest of the event now. 2 German GT radial drivers about to hit the track. First being Axel Mack. So he's off the line, Axel Mack. He is in 32nd position right now in the drop zone. Needs to improve that score. This is a V8 Lexus V8 powered twin turbo IS Lexus, I suppose we would refer to it here. 700 horsepower. Started drifting in 2007, so plenty of experience and has driven in series all over Europe. But he's going to have to rely on a lot of experience now to make sure he improves his score. It's not a bad run, Ian.
A much better run than his first run, granted, but 56 on his first. I can't see it being way up the order. He is, like you mentioned, Dave, on that 32nd place drop zone. He's going to need to improve, otherwise, well, I mean, listen, we've got a lot of guys sitting with a 0, so he's in a dangerous position. Looks like the score's in, though.
Does improve, 63.7, puts him in a 27th position so far.
And back to the line, a Rene Ports, Axel Mack's teammate, currently sits with a 0 on his first qualifying run. He needs to do better than a 63, better than a 56 to find himself inside competition. Nice initiation there from Rene Ports. Can he hold it together, just using the foot brake to slow the car down? Looks to get into the outer zone, but fails to fulfill outer zone 4 now as Rene Ports transitions back, looking for a nice snappy transition onto the wall. Can he pull it off? He certainly can. Oh, but he's dropping wheels over outer zone 6. He stands on the accelerator and keeps the car going. Rene Ports doing everything he can to find himself a place in competition. Is it enough? I'm not sure. The judges are going to be looking sharp at that run from Rene Ports.
I mean, it looks a very simple track when you just break it down, but it's actually, there's a lot going on, and I think the deceleration zone's very difficult on this track because you're transitioning before them, and that's what caused a lot of those issues. 66 on the board, 0.3 for Rene Ports from Germany. 27th position is where he'll land, and let's see how safe that is as the things move on. Next up, Kasper Christensen on the line. The Danish driver, 2JZ, 720 horsepower, E46. And he comes off the line, needs a little bit of an improvement here. 0 on his first run, has to get it all done. Long way to come when I put a score on the board. He has to make it happen here. Oh, and just as we say it, dropping 4 wheels off the circuit.
And I was just going to mention, Dave, that Kasper Christensen has had a very tough year. Not had the success that him and his teammates have been looking for, and unfortunately there, yeah, just 4 wheels off circuit. He knows that he's not done enough to get inside this weekend's competition, so he finishes off the run and just shows his appreciation for his Danish supporters as Kasper Christensen takes his car back to the pits. We need to make it official as the score appears on the screen. It will be a second 0 for Kasper Christensen.
It's so unfortunate, Ian, when you see a 0-0 like that. Darren McNamara and Kasper Christian now falling. This track, I think it's just a little bit of nerves. That, you know, the conditions are perfect, but everybody's pushing so hard. And now Jim Olofsson, look at this, once again drops into 32nd position, the Swedish driver. He now has to get the job done and improve his score. We mentioned he's had a pretty tough year, rolling the car on its roof in Riga. He's hit a wall in Poland, but in Germany he was back on form and looking pretty good here is Jim Olofsson.
Jim Olofsson navigating well so far, and talking of rolling, he needs to roll himself higher up the board. Can he pull it together as Jim Olofsson, very technical run, Jim Olofsson not as deep into outer zone 6, just catching his wheels on the edge of the box. Judges going to be looking to see him deeper in that zone, but nevertheless Jim Olofsson, can he do enough to climb up the order?
Well, top 3 ranked driver in Sweden right now, Ian, and moving, you know, representing his country. Of course, you know, we're in Ireland now. We've traveled across, you know, 5 nations, and everybody trying to, you know, make a good impression of their home nation, representing from 22 countries this weekend. A 75.7 does jump Jim Olofsson up to 20th position right now. Back to the line we go, and Christian Erlandsson from Sweden countryman of Jim Olafsson, 30 years of age. It's a Subaru BRZ 2JZ, 932 horsepower, over 1,000 Newton meters of torque. This thing rips, but he needs to improve his score from the first run, 61.3. Coming in very hot here. Dropping a wheel, but can he slow it down in time? Yes, he can.
He certainly can, Dave, as he fulfills all of outer zone 4 very, very well. This car and this driver, a very good combination. We see him do some damage in qualifying. In Hockenheim ring now, just needs to hold it together as he stands on the accelerator and abuses. 800 horsepower.
Excuse me, 800 horsepower.
Oh, sorry, I was reading the wrong, sorry.
He just lost 132 horsepower.
132 horsepower.
Like, that's what my car on the road has. You know? I think that's what my...
That's a lie.
No. I'm sure a lot of people here have a car that 132 horsepower is not bad. But you just lost that, just took it away from him. So here we go, 72 on the board. Christian Erlandsson from Sweden goes in at 24th position. And as you mentioned, that he'll be happy with that. I mean, it's not bumped him into a super safe position, but it is an improvement. And Steve Biaggioni now takes the line. He is also on a 0 from his first run. He's an ex-British champion representing Monster Energy, Acorn Insurance, ST Suspension, Sonax. And this Chevrolet LSX powered car comes into that first corner. Much better from Bagsy here.
A much better job from Bagsy. As you mentioned, Dave gets out of it on inner zone 1. He has to lift off the accelerator, but now starts to put down a technical run. This looks like Bagsy trying to just score as many points as he can. He just starts to fall out of outer zone 6. Gets back online though and through 7. I'm going to say that's enough, but it's going to be way down the order, and he's going to have to battle very, very hard later on in top 32.
Well, you have to admit, if you're on a 0 from the first run with a grid like this, you can't go in there and throw caution to the wind. You're going to have to put a technical run in. I think Bagsy would have had the option in his head to go for a big run, try and challenge the top 5, or just make sure he makes it to the battles, because that's where the event is won and lost. I think he's chosen the latter option, and I think it was the clever option too, as he will put a score on the board. So let's see where Steve Biaggioni drops in 19th position and with a 77 on his second run. That's safe for action later on. He'll be happy with that one. We move along to another UK driver on the line. There's sort of little groups right now in qualifying, all these different nations. It's Matt Carter, the current British drift champion representing Japspeed Maxxis Tyres. Calls himself hashtag the door hunter. Well, he is the score hunter here in qualifying because there's no doors yet in the competition. So he's going to have to try and do what he did yesterday and go right to the top of qualifying. Solid first run of an 84.3. Look at the entry from Matt Carter. He is loving his weekend here in Ireland.
Matt Carter finally finding his form this season after having an absolutely terrible year travelling around Europe, not getting any kind of fortune. But look at this from Matt Carter. He shows no regard to the back end of that R32 Nissan Skyline, sticks it to the wall and takes it across the line, an 84.3 on his first. Can that go better? That's a very good run.
That's a very good run indeed. And Matt Carter, you know what? He's looking fairly unstoppable. The only man that could stop him yesterday, and I mean just about stop him, was James Dean. He's going to come in here. I spoke to him yesterday evening. He said, I'm going to do exactly the same thing tomorrow, except I'm going to win. And that is a confident man in the evening. I'm looking forward to seeing how it goes. But a big run from Matt Carter will be enough to improve. Does drop some wheels on the outer zone, and I think that might hurt his score here. But a good first run to sort of slide back to, 80 on the board, 10th position. Matt Carter will be back in action for top 32 later on.
And back to the line we go. Max Heidrich sits on the line, sits with a 74 at the moment, so finds himself in competition. We're going to be needing to climb up the order to make his run later on a lot easier. Heidrich, 2JZ, S13, S15 front end fires the car, and this is an absolutely storming run so far from Heidrich as he transitions now into the outer zone 3 and 4. Completely fulfills outer zone 4 as he stands back on the accelerator. Nice transition. Looking for a big snappy one now onto the wall, and a perfect transition from Max Heidrich as he looks unstoppable right now as he takes his car across the line.
Well, we've been waiting for this Max Heidrich all year. He's had such a horrible season with engine failures, with mechanical failures. I think he's on his 5th engine in this car this year, which is just, So difficult to keep yourself motivated. Come to the last round and make that journey from Germany. Come here to Ireland and say, look, there's one round left. The car is working. I'm happy to show what I can do. And right there, we're seeing the true Max Heidrich that we haven't watched all season. I'm looking forward to seeing that guy in the battles later on. He's going to be a threat. 83 on the board for Max Heidrich from Germany. Puts him into 12th position. He'll be happy with that one. Set up, ready to rock in the top 32 later on. On the line, a man that didn't actually complete his first run. Missed it completely. He is a 6-time Cypriot champion from North Cyprus. It is Enver Haskasap 2JZ, 1,000 horsepower S15.
And he is coming in hot as he absolutely fulfills his own. Can he hold on to it? Oh, just drops the wheel, but now he needs to get himself back in the game. Oh, and he's dropped way offline. Needed to get back on the throttle much earlier than that to fulfill out zone 4. Haskasap absolutely shocked us all at the beginning of the season. This guy coming to the Drift Masters European Championship and blew us all away with his technical driving, but right now it looks like he's desperate to find a place in top 32, and looks like he fell apart a little bit there, Dave.
Yeah, not the cleanest of runs, but he had to do it all in one run, so, I mean, he took an approach there to try and go for it. These guys actually arrived with the car on Thursday, realized there was a gearbox issue, had to drive 3 hours to the north of Ireland to get the gearbox reconditioned back into the car. So, not the easiest of weekends for Enver Haskasap, and misses his first run. Has he scraped into top 32? That'll be the question. He has not, just outside the top 32 in 33rd position. Enver Haskasap from North Cyprus will not be joining us for battle action later on. But will Michael Reichardt from the Czech Republic, one of my favorite drivers on the grid, because he never stops smiling even if he's crashed or gone off the track or top of qualifying. This man is always enjoying his drifting. Got a 900 horsepower E92 under. Look at the entry here. Incredible from Michael Reichardt. He'll never hold this.
Oh, wow, he's way, way off, and he's going to get into the wall. He certainly does, Dave. What a brave initiation.
Yeah,
from
he
Michael
went
Reichardt.
for gold there. He went for an entry I've never seen anybody try in Mondello Park. And you know what? If you're here in front of an Irish audience, why not show what you're all about? And guys, give some appreciation to Michael Reichardt trying a almost over 90-degree entry into the first corner. Crazy stuff. Look at the angle he pulls here. But then gets a little bit of a whip back on transition, and he's lucky those foam barriers are there, Ian, because that could have been a lot worse way to start your day for Michael Reichardt. Our car relatively unscathed. So Reichardt will stay with his 68.7 just inside the top 32, but a nervous wait now to see if those guys who are on zeros knock him out. Sebastian Fonten, well, he is one of those drivers on a zero. The Dutch driver, 2JZ, 650 horsepower, and he is coming for blood this weekend, but he needs to get it done now in qualifying. Oh, he's got an issue here. It looks like he's just smoking wheels all the way up the straight.
Yeah, very peculiar, and absolutely, it shuts it down straight away. And
we noticed that on the straight. There was a lot of smoke
off that car. The back tyre, yeah.
I'm not sure if it was the back tyre or something else, but it definitely looked like there was an issue with that car. That's a 0-0, Ian, coming all the way from Holland to be here this weekend, and Sebastian Fonten will not put a score in. It looks like he has terminal mechanical failure there. Guys, round of applause from the audience for Sebastian Fonten. 2 zeros, mechanical failure, and he does not make it into the top 32. Crazy, big shock there. He's been a real star of the European scene for the last 2 or 3 years, and so unfortunate. Look at the back wheel. Yeah, it's towed in quite a bit, or cambered in quite a bit. I'm wondering, is there an issue with that car? But I would imagine it's a mechanical issue, given we saw that smoke. But whether there is or there isn't, he's not happy with the car either way. I can tell you that for a fact.
For me, I'm absolutely gutted. I'm a big Sebastian Fonten fan, and he's driven very well here before in Ireland. Such a shame to see him out of competition already. We go back to the line to the next guy ready to go for top 32. Second qualifying run, it will be David Karkošik. David Karkošik currently sits with an 83 on his first qualifying run, so he'll be feeling happy. Will he throw caution to the wind, as Dave says? We're about to find out as he comes off the line for his second qualifying run of the day.
Yeah, Karkošik has been an incredible star of this championship, finished in the top 4 last season. Big lock-up, though, a bit of understeer, but I think he's just about managed to just about stay on the track. And Karkošik, one of the most exciting drivers to watch anywhere in the world on his day. He has no fear of walls, no fear of speed. Look at it, smashes the car off the wall. If you're in JAFFest right now and you own an S15, right, and you've spent all yesterday polishing it and feeling really proud with yourself, just watch what this man has just done to the rear end of an S15 for your entertainment. And he leaves the track, and I'm sure for the fifth and sixth time this year, we'll see that car come back out perfectly resprayed again. Yeah,
I think he gets the wheel. Look at that. He gets the wheel on the wall. That's how far in he goes.
I'm 100% sure there's guys in the grandstand there that have S15s and park them, in the middle of 2 parking spaces in case someone hits a door off it in a car park. Well, that's what he does with his S15, but it's not enough to improve on his first score, obviously, of an 83. David Karkoshik entertaining the crowd and into 13th position. We move on to the Latvian, Jānis Iglīte. He sits on a 56.3, not a great run, not enough for the top 32 spots right now. 4-time Latvian champion, Eastern European champion, and 2nd place in the Drift GP European Championship in the past. Now he's got a E46 full heat HGK body kit, LS1 twin turbo, 800 horsepower, and he's going to need every bit of it here to impress the judges.
Certainly is, Dave. Nice initiation, though, from Iglīte. This looks like somebody who's thought about what they're doing. They're going to put in a technical run. Iglīte sits with that 56, as we mentioned. And Iglīte now just looking to get his maximum point. Oh, and it looks like the car almost comes to a complete stop there. Completely backs out the accelerator, and Iglīte has to get back on it. Puts himself way offline. That's going to hurt his score. As Jānis Iglīte finishes off the run, can he do enough to get himself a spot in top 32 action later on today?
Well, he looked like he was going for the perfect run, and then all of a sudden the car almost just came to a complete stop. So I'm not sure what happened there, or it looked like he just came off power way too long, and then the car hooked back up again. But that's going to hurt his score, and I thought he was due a bigger one there if he had just connected that last corner. Will Jānis Iglīte improve on his first score? An 81.3 puts him into 15th position and into the show. However, if he had just hooked that last section up, I think that could have been into the 90s. Great run from Jānis Iglīte. Moving along to Eli Hutunji from Germany. He is thumbs up all round in the Red Bull Falcon Tire E30 BMW's car, maintained by Track Day Performance right here in Ireland. And a big weight transfer for Eli Hutunji into that first corner.
Currently sits with an 80.3, and he's going to be looking to just climb himself way up the order into that top 5. Always dropping wheels, so this could be deep. It just about saves it. Eli Hutunji now stands back on the accelerator, and you can hear that V8 scream as he tags the wall and gets himself nice and deep into out zone 6. On the wall again, takes the back bumper off the car, finishes up an almost perfect run. Eli Hutunji will be very happy with that.
So this is a naturally aspirated car, and that noise you're hearing when he comes off throttle is sort of a jacked throttle. So essentially when he comes off throttle, it jacks up the revs. Sounds like anti-lag, but it's actually a naturally aspirated V8. Never heard anything quite like it before in my life. I'm sure Robbie and the guys at Track Day Performance just, keying in some interesting things. I'm not sure if it does anything better, but it sounds awesome. That's the most important thing. So Eli Hutunji now awaiting his score from the judges. We all have this little rivalry between Eli and Joe Hutunji all the way through the season. Let's see exactly what happens. On the judges' opinion, 75, not enough to improve on his first score, leaves him in 16th position. And we have a little bit of track repair going on, Ian, as Eli Hutunji moving one of our concrete blocks. Just saying that's where it should be. But the scores are starting to creep up, Ian. I'm getting excited. Remember, this is qualifying, so this is, I always say, this is the most boring part of the show. Even though it's quite exciting and there's crazy stuff happening, it's still the most boring part of the show because it's just one car on its own. Top 32 is starting to line up very special, and it's very obvious to see if you're, used to watching events here in Mondello Park or the Irish events here in Mondello Park. The Irish dominate, and that's the way it is when Europeans or internationals come. That is not the case this weekend. These international drivers from all over Europe are putting on an incredible display. We may have, okay, big statement coming up, Ian.
Wow.
I think today will be the best top 32 action we've ever seen in Ireland. Maybe, yes, I've said it, the entire European Championship so far.
I think you're right. And you know why I think you're right? because it's the final round of the championship. And you know what? A lot of guys have said, we have nothing left to do after this. After this round, that is it. The season's over. We get a long break. We get time to repair the cars. So I'm not going to travel all the way to Ireland and not risk it all. I'm not going to not put it all on the line. What's the point of coming?
Well, I'm just you're going to say every one of these guys is, you know, most, if not all, last round of the season. Cars have the whole off season to be fixed. We can throw caution to the wind there. Secondly, you're taking the best from the Drift Masters European Championship, which already takes the best from every nation in Europe. Then you add the best from Ireland, UK, and Formula Drift all into the mix. One top 32. There is going to be no weak battles here today. There's going to be no pushovers. Every one of these drivers is a champion or a high-ranked driver in their own right. I cannot wait to kick off this top 32 after qualifying.
It's almost like we've created an ego championship, because the grid is like, well, I'm a Formula Drift driver. Well, you know what? I won the Baltic champion. I'm the UK champion. These guys have all got huge statements, huge trophy cabinets, and they've all got a point to prove this weekend, right?
It's like top trumps.
Yeah,
you take all the stats, you put them up, they're throwing cards down on the table at the start line saying, well, I've actually won this. Well, I have 900 horsepower.
Exactly
900, that's nothing. I've got 1,000. So it is insane. I mean, to come here and have this in Ireland as the final round, of course, James Dean bringing that trophy back to Irish soil after winning it in Germany here this weekend. But I don't think it matters about that right now. I think the Nations Cup is what we're looking at, and it's stacking up very even across the board. I think when we get to the top 32 and we put up that top 32 bracket, tournament bracket, it's going to be very interesting to see who stacks up against who. What we're going to see guaranteed is huge names going home early in the top 32, because if you everybody's huge name in top 32, half of those guys are going home, and we get to top 16, it's going to be an all-out war.
It certainly is, and like I say, look, these guys are gunning for that championship cup. They want to take it home. They want to take over the pride of their country. They want to say, look, we did it. We battled 5 countries. We went all around the world, and we did it for you, and we brought it back home. And like I say, listen, I've been coming to Ireland for quite a while now, thanks to you and your team, and you guys don't like to lose. So I think we've got a war in our hands, like you say.
Well, remember, it's 15 years of history on home soil.
Also that to take into account.
No one's ever won it, and the way these guys are driving right now, I'm going to go out there and say it, that this is the biggest threat ever, no doubt about that. Could it be? You know what?
Well, I made a bold statement.
It'd be unpatriotic for me to say that it would, but I would say that there's nobody here that would be naive enough to not think that today is the day.
I made a big statement, and I said this weekend it's gone. And there was a few guys that agreed with me, a few Irish guys. They said, I think you're right. I don't think it's not unachievable. There's so many good European drivers, like you say. You've brought the best from Europe, the best from America. How can it not be on the line? And
yeah, I think if you look at the quality that's there, the Irish guys, especially the top 8 in that championship, they're okay, take aside some of the drivers that have competed in Europe before. They're under big pressure today. They've never had a challenge like this before. I think they're going to be really under pressure. However, it's not even just the Drift Masters European Championship drivers. It's those Formula D drivers. They're going to shake it up as well. So I am just very, it's almost like a really, really big game of chess today. And by the time we finish here this evening, we may, I've made big statements in the past, have watched the best weekend of drifting in history. Now, it's a big statement, but I think the talent's out there. I think the track is right for it. The conditions are perfect. We've got an amazing audience starting to fill Mondello Park. We might see something that will be remembered for 10, 20 years here today. And right now, Nigel Colfer has to make history himself, because he is on a 0 and he has never really not qualified here at Mondello Park.
That's right. He'll be wanting to do it for the fans and for that Championship Cup as Nigel Colfer fires in that Acorn Insurance 18SX. And look at this, Colfer. Oh, dropping wheels off out of zone 4 again. Could that be the nail in the coffin and the end of the weekend for the Wexford man as he gets nice and deep into out of zone 6? Does he know? Does Nigel Colfer know? Or am I just assuming? I'm getting a look from the judges and I don't like it.
Nigel Colfer under pressure. We very rarely see, we call him Stone Cold Colfer. He's always so consistent, but on home soil right now, have a look at this. Oh, that looks like 2 wheels off again for me. It does look like 2 wheels off on the same part of the track.
It seems to me like that's just an impossible place for most of these guys to slow down, and they're carrying so much speed. We need to make it official. Oh, and the score is in, and it's a 0-0. For Ireland's own Nigel Colfer, out of competition, Dave.
Can you imagine, you know, Nigel Colfer and Darren McNamara, with the history those guys have, not making it into the top 32 with 0-0s? Incredible action already. Benediktas Shirba comes off the line, the Lithuanian. 3rd place in the Lithuanian Championship last year, 10th place in the Drift Masters European Championship. Oh, and he's got big understeer problems here straight away.
Yeah, huge problems there, but he manages to keep a hold of it, gets the car back dialed, he gets nice and deep into out zone 4. Benedictus Cherba, we see him on the podium. Can he recreate that again as he fires the car to the wall, nice and personal with out of zone 6. Benedictus Cherba doing a very good job towards the end of the run. And Benedictus Cherba 38 on his first run, so he's going to need to do much, much better than that to find himself inside competition.
And it goes to show the challenge is different every round. You can come straight off the podium and struggle at the next. That is the level these guys are driving. And I know it's been the word, the catchphrase all year, the pool of talent, the depth of ability here. But it is putting all these champions together means there is no easy ride. I mean, being able to drift ain't good enough. Being able to be good ain't good enough. You got to be exceptional here to get into the top 32. So a 61 for Benedictus Cherba from Lithuania puts him into 34th position from the podium in Germany to not qualifying at the final. Ian, drama all round. Nigel Colfer now eliminated and Cherba. Incredible.
Well, we go back to the line for a man that is inside competition. That's Jack Shanahan. The man from Cork fires the 2JZ Link engine management tries side S14 in, and a nice initiation, very fast from Shanahan. Big angle on outside zone 3. Now, can he keep it together? This guy's done more laps around here than most other drivers on the grid as he fires it off. Big angle and absolutely flying is Shanahan as he sticks it to the wall. Nice and deep into outer zone 6 is a very good run for Shanahan. He's going to see his brother way up the order and he wants to be with him. Can he make it through? Arm out the window for Jack Shanahan. Unbelievable run. And the crowd, Dave, showing appreciation for Shanahan as he smokes up the last of those tyres and makes his way back to the pits.
So Jack Shanahan putting in a phenomenal run. The home crowd cheering him on from the grandstands here as Jack Shanahan not having the perfect season in Europe whatsoever, but coming back on home soil. He was taken out by James Dean yesterday in the top 8 in the Irish Drift Championship, so he's looking for one last roll of the dice, and he looks like he's back on form. Let's see if the judges agree with what we witnessed, Ian, which was a very, very solid run.
A very solid run indeed, and looked like the Jack Shanahan that we're accustomed to seeing all season and previous seasons in the UK and Ireland. Can he top qualifying? Can he push James Dean down the order? Score coming in, Dave.
And 90.3 for Jack Shanahan puts him into 2nd position, tied score with his brother Connor Shanahan. Well, there you go. Shanahan's looking very strong here in Mondello. Moving along, we've got Christoph Romanovski. If one man can take those boys down a peg, it will be the Polish drift warrior representing Extreme Tires. He is phenomenal on his day. Podium in Riga. He knows what it's like to be right at the top in the silverware. Let's see if he can get it done here.
He's tasted the champagne once this year. Can he do it again? Big understeer for Romanovski. He's way offline. That's going to hurt his score now. He needs to get it back. Can he? Oh, and again, he's dropping wheels. He's done the same thing as Colfer, popping a wheel in the air, Dave, and it shuts it down. He knows it's done. As Romanovski just puts on a show for the crowd in attendance here. And Christoph Romanovski, and I'll throw it all out there and say that will be a 0 on his 2nd qualifying run, a 77. Keeps him in the game.
Yeah, he will not improve on his first run. So unfortunate, Ian, making that error. But just trying to go for that bigger score means you got to push harder and go faster and take bigger risks. And sometimes they're not rewarded. Yeah, there you have it. 21st position, rather, is where he'll stay in the qualifying order. And Romanovski will hopefully be making it through to the top 32, but a nervous wait. Also, Tor Arne Kavia got an 89.7 on his first run. He sits right now in 4th position. If there's one man that can knock James Dean off top spot, it may just be the Norwegian Kavia. I'm expecting big things here with the pressure off.
He said to me yesterday he was going to put it all out there. Nothing left to play for this year as Kavia fires in the supercharged V8 200SX. Kavia gets off throttle now, he needs to make it work. And this is looking like he wants a technical run. Kavia stands on the accelerator and smokes out of zone 4. Big transition. Snappy back onto the wall again as Kavia navigates his way into outer zone 6. Stands on the throttle one more time and pushes the car across the line. The Norwegian sledgehammer doing a very good job.
I'm not so sure. That could go top. I'm not so sure. I'm not positive, but I think that was technically one of the best runs we've seen all day. Better than his first?
think, I'm just going to, sorry to interrupt, I think it lacked a little something. There was just a little, there wasn't
Well,
the
you know,
pop, there wasn't the little pop there.
There's not a lot of noise out of the car because he went 25 decibels over the noise regulations here on Mondello on Friday. So he has he called it the Hockenheim silencer on. I think this could go top. I'm making a big statement. Let's see what Kvyat does. It's a 91 and he goes first in qualifying. Kvyat goes top and the Irish knocked down into second and third. And I'm more delighted that I was right, Ian, than the fact that a Norwegian sits top of qualifying. That was an amazing run. Now, can Pointalaxco get it done? He had a first run that wasn't so perfect. 72 on the board. The Finnish driver, current Finnish champion. Let's see how he gets on here as he fires into that first corner. Lots of speed here, Ian. Starting to really hook it up now.
These guys seem to be really making a mark now as Pointalaxco stands on the accelerator. You can hear that car banging through the gears. Pointalaxco sticks it to the wall, navigates himself through outer zone 6. Pointalaxco, good job on the first one. I don't know if it's good enough to top his second, but these guys definitely seem to be stepping it up a level now, and Kvyat really not leaving anything out there and proving me wrong for sure.
Well, not too hard to prove you wrong, Ian. So it's not a massive achievement, but a massive achievement to outdo James Dean on his own backyard to go top of qualifying. Kvyat is obviously in the game. Pointalaxco improving a little bit, it looked to me, but making some errors around the run. But there you have it, 89. And Pointalaxco goes into 5th position. The Europeans biting back now, Ian, and going right into those business end positions of qualifying. We've got a real fight in our hands, and Trella on the line. The pride of Poland in the Opel Gt 2JZ. Well, he's outside that top 32 because he has a 0 from his first run. The man off the podium in Turin in Poland now has it all to do here in the next 40 seconds.
This guy's going to be looking for some redemption. As you can see him standing on the foot brake, locking that car up. This is much better from Pavel Trella now, as he uses a lot of handbrake though to slow that car down as he gets himself nice and tidily into outside zone 4. Good transition back, fires that Opel GT to the wall. Not a lot of room between him and that concrete wall, so nervous, as you can imagine. Shallows the angle up, puts it across the line. He's got a score on the board. It's not going to be setting the scoreboard alight by any means, but definitely a place inside top 32.
You know what? I think he'll be challenging somewhere between 20th and 10th in qualifying there. It's a mid-pack score, as you said, Ian. Not the perfect run, but perfect if you're on a 0 and you need to get into the show. That's exactly what you need, is a score on the board. Very unusual machine. You know, a 3-liter Toyota. Look at that, an 86 puts him into 10th position. Pavel Trella from Poland. Now, these European guys that have had a little bit of a waver on the first half of qualifying, looking so strong in the second half. Joe Hutunji lines up next, representing Germany. Falcon Tires, Red Bull. Well, this is one of the craziest machines in European drifting. It is a 180SX pickup truck with a Mitsubishi Galant front end. I keep saying it because I still don't quite believe it's a thing. It's definitely a thing, and it's being piloted by Joe Hutunji. Nice line so far. Now they're starting to hook it up, Ian, when it matters.
7th in the standings so far in qualifying. But can Joe Hutunji find himself inside that top 5? I know that's where he wants to be. Oh, as he just rubs the wall at the back end of that 180SX pickup. Hangs the spoiler over outside zone 6. Finishes an absolutely storming runoff. Joe Hutunji looking very strong as we move through qualifying.
Well, you know, I'm sure there was a lot of the Irish audience, you know, coming through the gate today, and they sat there and they said, these guys ain't that good. Well, now we're starting to see that pedigree come through in the second runs. These guys will not go away today very easily. And I'm just looking forward to seeing where they all stack up in the battles. A lot of Irish guys will be going up against a lot of internationals right from the off in top 32. Remember, we go straight to top 32 after qualifying. It's relentless here today at the Drift Masters European Championship final. And the scores are in. 89 for Joe Hutunji. He goes top 5 in qualifying into 5th position. And, oh, the Irish may have a problem here today. Ian, phenomenal runs going in right now.
They certainly might have a job on their hands, Dave, as we look to Pavel Korpelinski, who now sits on the line. This guy topped qualifying at the last round in Germany at the Hockenheim Ring. Can he do it again? Well, he's going to have to beat Kvyat with a 91 as he fires through the gears, and Korpelinski fires his little BMW 1M in stands on the accelerator, and this looks good. Oh, he's close to dropping wheels, though. Just about holds it. Oh, and he's over-rotated. Gets it all wrong, does Paweł Korpolinski, and holds on to a 78.7 in his first run. Is it enough to stay? It's going to be in the middle. He's going to stay in the middle, but it's going to be hard work for Korpolinski in top 32.
Yeah, into 22nd position. He stays with 78.7. And to be honest, there's the man that top qualifying in Germany now, you know, right down the mid-pack. So it shows how unpredictable this championship can be. And our next driver is Conor Shannon. He's in 4th position. He is almost a joint 3rd, essentially, with his brother Jack Shannon. So what? Conor Shannon, pressure's off. Let's have some fun. 15 years of age. He can throw it in as hard and as fast as he wants. Anything can happen. And look at that entry. Oh, understeers through the first corner, but keeps on it.
Certainly does keep on it, and an absolutely unbelievable job from Conor Shanahan. How he held on to that, I'll never know. But nevertheless, he gets back into it again as Shanahan starts to smoke out Mondello Park. He's home ground. He knows this place too well. Oh, dropping off line arm out the window. Shanahan just putting on a show. He knows he's inside that top 5, and Shanahan really coming alive now. He's back on his home ground.
Just, you know, there's still an opportunity for Conor Shanahan this weekend to finish inside the top 3 in the championship, and that is what he's looking at. I mean, he sits 5th in the championship. He's 15 years of age, and he's now inside the top 5 drivers in the entirety of Europe, and that's a big claim for a young kid coming through just in his first year of European competition. However, knowing Conor Shanahan, he'll want to go all the way to the top today, take down everybody, and remind everybody why he won the first round of the championship this year in Poland. Next driver on the line, well, it's another youngster, 18-year-old Adam Zalewski. This was the man I said, I watched 2 or 3 runs this morning, and I said, nobody will do a better run than that in any qualifying run. If he can pull that out of the bag right now, the youngster on Zestino tires and a 2JZ, he could go top. He has it in him. He just needs to avoid that understeer to the first corner, and he does.
Does indeed. Gets nice and deep into out zone 3, just avoids dropping wheels. Now, can he hold it together? Oh, he's close to dropping wheels off track. Very deep into out zone 4 is Adam Zalewski. Now, 2JZ under the bonnet of that BMW E30 is absolutely singing, almost rubbing the wall, but stays millimetres away. And an absolutely brilliant run there for Adam Zalewski.
I may even make another prediction.
Again?
That run will be inside the top 10. He misses clipping zone 2, which is the mistake, but the rest of the run is almost perfect. I think that was speed, impact, lots of risk on show. I could be completely wrong, Ian. I'm rarely wrong.
Really?
But it was a very, very good run. I enjoyed watching it. From my perspective, I think he's looking very comfortable for the battles later on. Oh, way off, down in 79. That was the first mistake I've made all season, Ian.
Then normally you get it overturned. So.
Or maybe the judges made a mistake. That could also be possible. 79.7, 21st position for Adam Zalewski. The wheel drops. That was what was taking a lot of the score away there. 2 wheel drops off the track. Paweł Borkowski's on the line. Polish driver, 700 horsepower, 2JZ. 3rd place in the championship right now, coming in very, very hot. Got a 61 on his first run. Needs to improve from there, Ian.
Yeah, and he's made a mistake straight away, Dave, on inner zone 1. Got the wheel up on the curb, put him way off on outer zone 3. He gets back online now, but Paweł Borkowski, feeling the pressure, gets the car to the wall, starts to make a move, but it could be too much too late. Can he improve on a 61.3? I'm not sure. That was a big error.
Yeah, big mistake, and it just goes to show. I mean, I was just looking at the line and speed and angle of Zalewski before him, but it's those technical mistakes, the dropping of the wheel over the zones, that's where the judges are knocking him 10, 15 points away for. And when those understeers and those kind of moments happen, or missing a clipping zone, with this level of driving and the criteria the guys have set out for these drivers, you know, for a casual viewer like us, we can go, yeah, it's going to be great, but a 67 for Paweł Borkowski puts him right on the bracket of 32, which means he will be in the battles because Hipke and Dean ahead of him are in the qualifying order. So that is as lucky as it gets for Paweł Borkowski as he stays inside the top 32, guaranteed. Next up, Grzegorz Hipke. LSX 454, 600 horsepower, 78 on the board. He is 2nd in the championship right now. Mathematically can't take it from James Dean, but can try and secure. Look at that entry, Ian. Doesn't even make sense. He came in at more speed than I've ever seen anyone come into Mondello before.
He certainly did, Dave, but it cost him. He got a little bit of understeer through in zone 1, and he had to work to get the car back online. Making it work for himself now as he sticks it to the wall, almost making big contact. Look at his wheel, absolutely dancing with the edge of the line. As Gregor Hipke proves why he's sitting second in the championship and why he was a championship contender. He's doing Poland proud right now. We know he's contending for that championship cup.
Well, Poland and Ireland are contending for that cup. Poland, though, lead the charge at the moment in the championship standings. Not a lot in it, though. Today will be the day it's decided. Will Ireland be the most victorious nation in the European Nations Cup in the Drift Masters Championship, or will Poland hold on? And you know what? They've held on so far this year. That leaves us with one remaining qualifying run. It is your 2018 champion, Gregor Hipke, jumping into 82.3, 17th position mid-pack. You know what? He'll be happy with that. He comes alive in the battles. That's where you see Gregor really starting to make his move. James Dean, as I mentioned, on the line, that infamous 130. He's already wrapped up the championship, but now he wants to wrap up the Nations Cup and hold 15 years of an undefeated streak here in Ireland. And sometimes he's done it almost on his own at times. James Dean, look at that entry from James Dean.
Phenomenal stuff right now from James Dean. No worry of understeer from this young man as he gets back on the accelerator nice and deep into out of zone 4. Dean on a perfect line. This looks like it could contend with top spot from Kavia. He knows the Norwegian sledgehammer is up there and he wants it as Dean absolutely rubs every single wall. Takes it across the line, Mondello Park. Give your 2018 Drift Masters European Champion a round of applause, and what a phenomenal qualifying run. What a phenomenal qualifying session, Dave.
James Dean finishes the qualifying session in style and leaves the arena. Is it going to go top? I'd be very surprised if it doesn't. Ian, a huge run from James Dean. Just stepped it up when we thought there was no more in the tank. And 94.3 puts James Dean into first position at the end of qualifying. And we roll on to our top 32. Here's the scoreboard, Ian, and it's stacked.
Stacked indeed it is, Dave. In first place, we take James Dean. Second, Torane Kavia. Third place, Jack Shanahan. Fourth, Connor Shanahan. Fifth, Joe Hutunji. Sixth, Juha Poitalaxco. Seventh, Alan Hines. Eighth, Dwayne McKeever. Ninth, Forrest Wang. 10th, Pavel Triller. 11th, Oliver Evans. 12th, Paul McCarthy. 13th, Matthew Carter. 14th, Max Heidrich. 15th, David Karkoshik. 16th, Mitch Lerner. 17th, Gregors Hipke. 18th, Yanis Inglite. 19th, Eli Hutunji. 20, Aramis Vaskalis. 21st, Dean Carney. 22nd, Adam Zalewski. 23rd, Pavel Korpelinski. 24th, Steve Bagsy Biagioni. 24th, Christoph Romanovski. 26th, Jim Olofsson. 27th, Joe Doyle. 28th, Chris Eraldson. 29th, Mark McBurney. 30th, Kevin Quinn. 31st, Mikkel Reichardt. And rounding off top 32 will be Pavel Borkowski. Dave, that was potentially one of the most exciting qualifying sessions I've ever witnessed.
Well, it's high scoring for sure. A lot of internationals in there, a couple of Irish, 15 years on the line, a Nations Cup on the line. There's a lot to do here today, and one of the biggest standout stars for me was Torane Kavia sitting in second in the qualifying. But it's going to get more interesting as that is, as I always mention, the boring part of the show over. The formality of qualifying is finished. Now we go head-to-head in the battles. We are just about to take a small break, and then we are back with all the action where these guys go door-to-door, wheel-to-wheel at the biggest event in European drift history. We're back soon.